The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guest and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Saturdays or Sundays, SOR Media, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. Any rebroadcast, reproduction, or other use of this broadcast or podcast without the express written consent of SOR Media is strictly prohibited. Listener discretion is advised. Are you experienced? Then come own the night with us.
Little brother has taken control, shoveling dirt in every hole. Predators to condemn your soul, watching you and watching me. We're all
Station atop the mountains of British Columbia, live from SOR headquarters. This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott.
We live behind glass curtains and act like nothing's wrong. Soon you will belong.
You can follow us on our website, spacedoutradio.com, and on Spaced Out Radio on iTunes. You can follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, and on Instagram at Dave Scott SOR, on Facebook at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio.
Brother wants to make headlines, be immortalized. Everyone's got an electric eye with the digital spies. They've watched you for so long. I know you're out there somewhere watching me.
Buckle up, space travelers. It's time to go for a ride on Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott.
I know you're out there somewhere. We've watched you for so long. Wait for you to fall. We will expose you all. I know you're out there somewhere watching me. Little brother wants to make headlines, be immortalized. Everyone's got an electric eye where the digital spies.
It's Monday, September 17th, Tuesday, September 18th, if you're on the East Coast or across the pond. And this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. Hope you had a great day and night. I am your host, Dave Scott, broadcasting to you live from the Great White North, on top of the mountains of central British Columbia, right here at SOR headquarters. We are 150,000 strong nightly on the SOR radio network and Deep Talk Radio, and we say hello to each and every one of you. If you want to listen to our archives, they are free on our YouTube channel. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. We would greatly appreciate if you did. Why? Well, because we want you to follow us each and every place you can. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. You can rock out to Bumblefoot, shop at our store, read up on the encounter online, and so much more. Don't forget, you only have less than 2 weeks to get your tickets for the first annual Caribou Paracon, brought to you by Spaced Out Radio and the Canadian Society of Questers. We want to see as many Spaced Out Radio listeners up here in 108 Mile Ranch, British Columbia at the Spruce Hill Resort and Spa. Go to questers.ca. That's questers.ca and get your tickets right now. Tonight's show is brought to you by the YouTube channel Ensuho. Sebastian Martin brings high-quality messages to the masses. I think you should subscribe to it. Just go to spacedoutradio.com, click on the Ensuho banner, and you know what to do. In the next couple of weekends, I'm going to be hanging out with this guy, who has one of the finest beards in the paranormal. You've heard him on Spaced Out Radio numerous times, and now the head of Forest Moon Paranormal, Eric Cooper, and his group are quite unique in a way. And if you haven't heard these stories before, they're going to sound quite unbelievable. Cooper's group is known for handling what we call paranormal emergencies. So what are paranormal emergencies? How does one deal with the unknown without knowing what they are dealing with? We'll also speak to him about this weekend's FMP Paracon in Washington State. I will be heading down to speak at that event, as I have the last couple of years. That'll be on Saturday, the 22nd in Cedar-Woolley, Washington. I want to see you all there. It's only $5 to get in. And then Eric will be returning the favor and coming up here to speak at the Caribou Paracon as well. Then at the bottom of hour number 3, Everett Thiemer will be in with the latest edition of The Encounter from our Spaced Out Radio newsroom. But first, let's reintroduce a long-lost voice of this show, Eric Cooper. How you doing, brother?
Hey, I'm doing good. Counting down days now.
Excellent.
Hours.
I know. I got to tell you, I'm getting excited. I'm a little sad. Okay, I'm gonna go on record for this. I'm a little sad that your Paracon has moved out of your quaint, cute little town of Concrete, Washington, and you had to move communities this year into Cedar-Woolley. I'm a little upset about that because your community reminds me so much of 108 Mile Ranch up here, man, that it just, honestly, it feels like home. And you're surrounded in this area by literally trees that are standing 70, 80, 90, 100 feet tall, and it's gorgeous, and there's a beautiful river running through it. I mean, you live in a picturesque place of Washington State there.
Yeah, and not to mention we have Bigfoot, we have UFO sightings, we have all that right up here, and the whole town's haunted. So, it is the perfect spot for a Paracon. But the venues here just aren't big enough. Not for what we're anticipating. We're anticipating a possibility of between 300 and 500.
Wow, that's
and there's
exciting.
Nothing here big enough to hold that.
That's really exciting. Hey, before we get started into the whole topic of paranormal emergency or emergency paranormal, let's learn a little bit about your Paracon here. Tell us all about it and where people in Washington State, Oregon, or British Columbia can come in to see it. Because, I mean, like I said, it's just 4 days away on September 22nd, and you got great value for the speakers that you have for just $5 entry.
We do, and it's been free for the last 2 years, but it just, I don't know. You throw 2,000 to 3,000 into a Paracon out of pocket. It has to pay for itself somehow. So $5, I think, it's the cheapest Paracon you're ever going to find, literally. Mm-hmm. I'm looking here. I've got to pull up because I don't have the exact address, which I would like to announce. It is at the Skagit Grange, though, on Cook Road. You take the Cook Road exit right off I-5, and you're there in 2 to 3 minutes.
Nice.
We have 11 vendors, yourself included, actually. Spaced Out Radio is a vendor. We got our Keith Andrews, who's going to be selling his books there. And then we have vendors from everything from paranormal jewelry to readers to I'm winging it here. Oh God, what's that called? It's a tattoo artist, but they use paint.
Right.
Yeah, airbrush tattoo.
Oh, nice.
And that's new. They just popped up, so looking forward to it. Doors open 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and then is our after party, and that starts at 7. Dinner's from 7 to 8. And then the round table goes from 8 to 10. So as far as doors open 10 a.m., I don't have my itinerary right in front of me, but we got Mike Moore talking investigative technique. Christina George is talking black-eyed children and indigo children. Our Keith Andrews is talking children and alien abduction, children hybrids, and the consortium. Let's see. Francie Miller is the FMP therapist, and she's actually. Oh, I'm looking forward to hers. She's actually talking psychiatry and the paranormal, and how you can tell the difference. And then, of course, we got Dave Scott talking media and
disclosure.
And no, I know
Media and disclosure.
Yeah,
that's what I'm going to be talking
there
about.
you go.
Yeah.
And then we have Michael Hall talking the legalities of UFO investigation. So that wraps up the speakers, and of course they're all going to be on the round table, afterwards. We have awesome. I mean, you know what? We have an awesome team putting this together with us. Chris and Brent, which you know from 3 Rivers Inn,
Yeah.
have been hitting up the community for donations for raffles.
Oh, cool.
And oh my God, they went all out. The community's pulled together a lot of the businesses and whatnot, and so we're gonna have like 3 raffles an hour, all day long, and then the grand raffle will be you're actually going to draw the grand raffle.
Oh.
The grand raffle is going to be a case, and we have an EMF meter, we have a camera, we have a micro recorder.
Nice.
We're going to have a sage stick in there and some stones and basically a beginner's paranormal investigation kit.
Oh, cool. That sounds like a lot of fun.
That would be the grand raffle. Then we're also going to have our roving alien that people can get their picture taken with.
Excellent. Excellent. Does he go by the name of Carl?
Carlette. There we go. We'll call her Carlette.
Or Carla?
Yeah. Carla. There you go. I like that.
Well,
Carla.
let's do that. Let's do that. I will get a picture with the alien, man. I will totally get a picture with the alien.
And no, she's not green. She's gray. So she's going to be the typical gray alien.
Excellent. Excellent. So it sounds like you got a lot of cool things happening once again. And, being there at the first event, and seeing it start out. And then last year was a lot of fun as well. And then you go this year to see how you've seemed to take it up another notch, man. I am very much excited about getting down there, speaking at your event. Once again, I'm going to be talking about the media's role in disclosure, because I think there's a lot of people who didn't like the way the media, kind of covered the whole disclosure event, not asking any of the tough questions, but that's just the way it is. You can't do anything about that.
And, you look at the latest news, you don't hear so much disclosure, but now all of a sudden they're shutting down the telescopes.
I know. Isn't that
What's
weird?
up with that?
I have no idea, my friend. I have no idea whatsoever. But let's reverse trends here, because I'm coming down to your place to speak at your Paracon this weekend. You're reversing the role just a week later, coming up to speak at the Caribou Paracon here in beautiful British Columbia. And what does that mean to you? You've never been up here this far.
I've never spoke at a Paracon. Yeah, I mean, I did a real quick, because I had to do a fill-in for the first Paracon we did, but I've never actually spoke at a Paracon, so I'm looking forward to it.
What are you going to be speaking on up here?
Well, just like we're talking tonight, emergency response to the paranormal. And then the next day I'll be doing a workshop on emergency preparedness. So they really do go hand in hand. It's just a matter of how you respond to it, whether it's a volcano or a spirit throwing you down the stairs.
Right.
It's really the same response. Well, yeah, that came out wrong. Because, you're not going to... Never mind.
Long day for you? Long day for you?
It has been.
Okay.
Well, yeah, we're going nonstop, getting ready for Paracon. I've got last-minute schoolwork I've got to do for my class I'm in. And I'm looking forward to... You're actually going to get to meet Tony when we do.
Excellent.
Because Tony's coming. Tony's flying in Wednesday.
All right. Tony is part of Eric Cooper's Forest
He's-
Moon Paranormal team.
He's the astral team leader.
Right. And we're going to get into the whole astral thing later. But Coop, for, our audience is always changing. We got more people listening in and a lot of people who may not have heard you on the show before. How did you get your start in the paranormal, which led to the creation of Forest Moon Paracon and Forest Moon Paranormal?
Okay, so my first encounters, which I really didn't pay attention until I was about 20, but I had childhood encounters as well. One was where I was walking in our pasture, and our cows got out. The cows ran for a hole in the fence that was going to the highway. Something freaked them out. They came to a running stop, and were terrified to the point where they ran right back through the fence where they got out and didn't stop till they got to the barn, which is about a mile away. I kind of looked at it and was, that was weird. Didn't put any much thought into it. As a kid, I saw shadows in my cousin's house. Again, didn't think much of it. Saw black and white, in the 1970s, saw the black and white, the early UFO documentaries, and kind of thought they were cool, but again, didn't think much of it. I really didn't get into the investigative side till about 1990 after I joined the Army and was stationed in Stuttgart. And, then I was getting more into occult studies, and occult studies themselves, when you look at them, are paranormal. Because they recognize spirit. They recognize the Fae. They recognize what the normal person would see as paranormal. So I had 2 UFO sightings in Germany. My third UFO sighting was in Iraq going over Syria. And then I've had 2, Izzy and I both, my mate, have both seen 2 different UFO sightings up here. One was back 4th of July, actually. So, Forest Moon started in Iraq. Forest Moon Grove started in Iraq, and that was a pagan group that I ran in Balad in 0405 and Talifar 0506. And we actually dealt with paranormal issues in Iraq, as far as shadows, as far as, it's a whole different energy in the Middle East compared to what you deal with here in North America. And the concept of the paranormal is different, is a different attitude in Europe versus America. Because, and I've told this story on your show before, but when we were attacked by a spirit in an apartment we lived in Germany, and we went to Army housing, and it was run by, Germans ran the Army housing. And we tell them, you've got to, because they asked, why do you have to move? And we told them, well, there's a spirit in there that's really negative, and threw a knife across the kitchen. And that woman looked at us and said, oh my God, do you have a Geist? And she said, no, you're not going back. You're going straight into housing here on base. And you tell that to housing here in the United States, they would have laughed you out of the office and said, hey, deal with it. There's no such thing as ghosts. So Forest Moon Paranormal started up technically about 2005, as a team about 2006. And back then, I did things here and there till about 2010 when I was medically retired. And we didn't have an astral team till 2012. So between 2006 and 2012, the way I dealt with things, unless they're boots on ground here locally, I would find a team local to the client and send them in. Now we handle everything in-house, and it's global. We don't. If we have assets in the area of the client, then we will contact one of our boots on ground teams in the area and have them go in at the same time as the astral.
I want to talk about your Army career for a second here, because I think it's very important to point out to our audience that you are a veteran, and I believe you did 4 tours, right? 4 tours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
I was so I went in technically 89. I didn't start boot camp till 90 because it was towards the end of their cycle. And I was a combat medic from 90 to 94. And in that time, I went to Operation Positive Force, which was right at the tail of the Desert Storm ceasefire. I was in 11th Armored Cavalry, and they put us in to keep Saddam from coming back in when they pulled everybody else out. So we were in Doha, Kuwait, and ran our own missions beyond the border. But as a combat medic then, we left Doha. I went to Somalia in 93 with the 514th Ambulance Company. And pretty much everybody got out. Somalia, just to be blunt, was pure hell. So I think most of the guys in my unit got out of the Army, did their time, and were done. And ironically enough, most of us went back in. I went back in January of 95, but I had to switch MOSs, switch jobs. So I was a truck mechanic. But every unit I went to didn't have medics, so they used me as a combat medic as well. So I was doing both MOSs, or both jobs. From then I went back to Germany. That's where I saw my 2 UFO sightings. And in 1994 is when I actually got into the UFO abduction field, when I had a friend that was actually abducted. So that piqued my interest because I'd never dealt with abduction or even UFOs prior to this point. So the first book I picked up was Dr. David Jacobs' Secret Life of Abductees. And, that, like I said, the rest is history. And I've been doing UFO and abduction ever since. So I did 2 tours to Iraq, Balad, Iraq, January of 04 to January of 05, and at Telefar, November 05 to October 06. And then I was medically retired in 2010.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to serve the United States, where the majority of our listeners are, and I think that's always important. I know you hate that compliment. I know you do, but the fact that you did 19 and a half years in the United States Army is something to be commended about, my friend. And
I'm getting used to it.
Well, you should. You should, because, I realize that your career didn't end the way you wanted it to in the Army, but nonetheless, there's a lot of guys and ladies who probably wouldn't have had the chance to come home if it wasn't for you. So, I mean, job well done as a medic, my friend.
Well, thank you.
The reason why I wanted to get into the military side of everything, because you mentioned that, and I've never really asked you this, out of all the times we've talked, I've never really gone down this road, but you mentioned that your experiences really started to heat up when you went overseas in Germany and then into Iraq and the Middle East and so on and so forth. At that point, when you were starting to have these experiences, who did you tell? Did you tell anybody in a commanding rank? And what was the military's belief in regards to paranormal or UFO activity?
Oh, okay. So I had, certain soldiers within my circle that, a few of them were actually into UFOs a little bit. And so they kind of joined our venture, I guess you could say. Do you go talk to commanding officers? No. No. That's a good way to get your career ended. I've seen it. But, I never got the, and I kick myself now, because I never got the chance to ask any of the pilots, but I was in an Apache unit. And, the Apaches, I don't know currently, but back then, this was back in 95, and the Apache was the most sophisticated helicopter that we've got. Right down to you turn the helmet and the gun moves with it. You know, it's a highly sophisticated bird. It drops a missile from 2 miles. You won't even know it's watching you until the missile hits. But I've always, you think about it, I wonder how many of them actually saw anything. And back then, too, I was in the safety field, so I actually had to take, aircraft accident investigation courses and POV investigation courses, OSHA training, FEMA training, all that kind of stuff. But and the pilots of the Apaches they're warrant officers, so they weren't commissioned per se. So you could talk to a warrant much easier than you could a commissioned officer anyway, because they're all prior service. But no, as far as talking to your command, no. And in fact, I've told you on the show before, in Third Army, I was in a secure building at least 1 week in a month, pulling 24-hour duty, and was heavy into the UFO side. I mean, I was always on the CAUSE website. That was the Citizens Against UFO Secrecy, and by Peter Gersten. He's gotten out of it since then. I think he's doing other paranormal issues, but and I know my phone was bugged. You always know when the phone's bugged when it starts clicking at you. I know I was followed. I always change my routes going to and from work. So, but I know I was followed. So, do they pay attention? Yes, they do. And if you tell your commanding officer, no, that just doesn't happen.
No, I mean, that's kind of what I'm getting at in regards to that, because, I mean, if you guys on your own fruition overseas while in uniform are investigating UFO sightings or paranormal activity, would that not rub the military the wrong way if they would have found out?
It would. And, I think that's more, when you talk about the secret side of the military, I think that's more what you're looking at with Delta Force. Delta Force, you've got some special operations commands that I believe deal in those areas, but you won't hear about them, and you won't hear, what they do or anything. I know at one point, I haven't looked into it anymore, but there's supposed to be a UFO investigator MOS, but you won't find it in books. And I believe they're selective about who they pick. Somebody they can sway, somebody that's probably got a lower ASFAB score that they can kind of manipulate in those areas.
So here you are, you're in the middle of Germany, and you start seeing UFOs, you start having paranormal activity. What were you chalking that up to? Was it just the fact that maybe you were in uniform at that time? Did you feel anything changing spiritually in your own life that was maybe bringing the experiences? What was going on?
I don't know how to answer that one. I think it was just time for me to learn. Whether you want to call it a spiritual experience, whether you want to call it my guides or things of that nature, I think it was just time for me to start branching out and learning what I needed to learn to do what I do now. I'm of the belief that everything prepares you in life for what your purpose in life is. If that makes sense.
It does make sense to a degree, but in the end, I mean, about you personally, how did that start to change you and mold you into the paranormal investigator that you are today?
Well, I think the more experiences you have, the more understanding you are of people. And let me address something, because I know Trippin's biting at the bit in the chat room about about the Hitler sighting that we had. So a friend of mine and I were in Bad Hersfeld. That was back in our Black Horse days. And it was roughly between 10 and midnight. We were going to a bar. Hadn't had a drink yet, so before anyone says we were drunk, no. We hadn't had a single drink yet. But we were walking down an alley, and there's what's called the Ratskeller. And the Ratskeller is kind of like the German equivalent to, what would you call it? A Chamber of Commerce, the political building, the head building of a village. And as we're walking, neither one of us knew we were experiencing the same thing at this point in time, but our vision turned to black and white. And in front of us, we see a 1920 style limousine with Hitler, the Nazi flag on one side, the German flag on the other. And the closer we get to this, we see Hitler and his entourage come out of the building. And now what I don't understand, too, is they all stopped and looked at us. Now, what they saw, I have no idea. I don't know if they saw, there's a couple American GIs walking down the street. They didn't freak out. It was kind of like a nonchalant look. And we walked around the corner and continued up the street, and our vision went back to color, and everything was back to normal. And so we walked for about 10 minutes in silence, and then he looked at me and he's like, "Wait a minute, did you see something weird back there?" And we both described the same thing. So that was the Hitler story. And like I said, I have no idea what they saw when they saw us, whether we were just a couple German citizens walking down the street, or they didn't act shocked or nothing, though.
What was it like for you to realize that you had a time slip of almost, at that point, 60 years?
I didn't think of it that way. I mean, So let's go back in time again, and I'll explain a little more of probably why I perceive things the way I do. I was in a car accident on the Autobahn, and it was 2 o'clock in the morning. 2 of my tanker buddies were driving me back to base, and it was an S-Bahn. So you got the Autobahn that goes all the way across the country, and the speed limit's endless. You got the S-Bahn, which is kind of like our country, 4-lane roads, but it's more like the little countryside roads. Still a high speed, there's not much of a speed limit compared to what we have here. And the Germans sideswiped us, so we pull off the road, and they were broadside. Well, being a medic, I jumped out and I ran over, and they were out of the car running around. My auto was kaput. I'm like, "Well, yeah, you okay?" And they're fine. And all I remember is turning to step away from the car. I heard squealing brakes and crunching metal, and I'm laying in some woods. And my buddies saw me fly 30 feet through the air. My tennis shoes were still on the Autobahn. I should be dead. Just, bottom line, that should have killed me. The Germans were killed on impact because they ran between the two vehicles. And they heard me call for help, and they kind of freaked out because, they thought Cooper's dead. And I had a crystal in my pocket. They never left my pocket, but they saw a flash of light that came out of my pocket when I was flying through the air. So, when it comes to the paranormal, do I believe in it? Yeah, there's paranormal issue, existence hands down, which is why we handle paranormal cases the way we do. Is everything paranormal? No, it's not.
But getting back to the time slip, looking at it now, because this event happened a couple decades ago, looking back at it now, knowing that you slipped back 60 years for a brief minute or two, what do you think, or how did that affect what you were doing now, or what do you think about it? Do you ever think about what had happened there? Because that doesn't happen to a lot of people.
No, and to be honest with you, I don't think about it until, well, Trip asks about it. But no, and it, I guess I've been through so many different experiences in life that's just, okay, I slipped in time and saw Hitler. It's not a big deal to me. And I don't know why. I think in the back of my mind, I already know there's, wormholes and time slips and portals and whatnot.
Well, your experience now would lead you to believe that. But, I mean, when you look back at that, I mean, not everybody gets to go back in time and make the assertion or the assessment that they are looking into the eyes of one of the most evil and cruelest people to ever walk this planet.
Mm-hmm. I'd agree. But, again, I don't know what to make of it, I guess would be the easiest way to explain. Is, did I walk through a time shift? Apparently I did, because that's the only other way to explain that, especially when, I've got a witness. There were two of us that saw the exact same thing.
Has this person ever reached out to you since?
You know what? I told this is going to sound bad, but I don't remember his last name, so I don't know how to reach him.
I get that. It's one of those soldier things that happens.
Right. He was one of my cook buddies. He was a cook. If I really tried hard enough, I am in a group called the Medics from Hell. It's all of us medics that were in the Black Horse, and we reach out to our friends through that group all the time. So I could somebody probably remembers his name, and I could reach out to him. But Joe wants to know if they saw us also. Yeah, they did see us, but who were we to them? I don't know. They didn't act shocked. They didn't act surprised. Just like, oh, look, there's a couple of Germans walking down the street. That's kind of how they acted, because had they seen us as U.S. soldiers walking down their street, it would have been a different response.
So what goes through your mind when you see that? What goes through your mind?
Say again?
What goes through your mind when you see that? I mean, everything's black and white. Everything is kind of looking around, and you notice that the eye contact has been made with you, and you're wondering what's going on. Like, did you at all ever think in that point of time that you're maybe in trouble, that you're maybe going to have something happen that you don't know how to react?
To be honest with you, when it was happening, I just thought, this is kind of weird. Why am I seeing in black and white? And why is Hitler right there? Did I ever think I was in danger? No, not even a little bit. I just thought it was a very weird experience. And, And AJ at the same time was seeing the same thing, and we didn't compare notes until 10 minutes later. So I know we both stopped and looked back, and everything was normal because the time shift had closed up. But it's at no point in time did I ever think I was in any kind of danger. I should run or anything like that.
I know when I came face to face with the first extraterrestrial I saw with Samantha Mowat, I just stood there stunned. Was that kind of what you were going through, where you're trying to figure out what your eyes are seeing and it's just not comprehending?
Well, on that, we neither one of us stopped. We kept on going. We kept on walking. So I don't think it really. We knew what we were seeing, but it didn't really dawn on us to, oh my God, look at that. It was just, I don't know how to explain it, because this happened back in 1992. Yeah, it would have been 92. So no, I just remember thinking, wow. But I never stopped my stride. We both kept on walking, and got to the end of the alley and right next to the limousine, and took a left and walked up the street. So, I know, like I said, at no point in time did we feel threatened or like we were in any kind of danger. It's just, wow, that's weird.
Would you react differently if it happened today?
Probably.
How so? How so?
I would be paying more attention. I'd be, pulling out my phone to take a picture if I could. But, back then we didn't have cell phones to take good pictures with either.
I want to fast forward here a few years. You're in Iraq, and you see a great UFO experience with a bunch of your fellow soldiers.
Mm-hmm. So this craft actually appeared for about 3 nights in a row. Now, by definition of a UFO, it could have been experimental craft. It could have been it would have to have been experimental craft, because the other witnesses that were with me, one was a crew chief on a helicopter, and the other one was a helicopter mechanic. They know aircraft. So, and their words exactly were, it's not ours. It's not conventional aircraft from their experience. So, and it was triangular shaped. Even the light patterns on it weren't conventional, and that's per aircraft mechanics and crew chief. And and they lasted each night about 15 minutes. And they moved too slow. They didn't make any noise. They weren't drone, because back then we used a lot of drone for surveillance and whatnot. They weren't drone, because drone lights would have been obvious. So no, this was a triangular craft. Had very specific light patterns. Hovered, didn't make any noise. Moved very slow. And like I said, going by the other, I don't know, about 6 other soldiers that were with me, that all saw it all 3 nights. And we did get a video of it, but I don't have the video. One of my buddies has it and probably lost it by now. This is again back in 2006. So
when you're on a battlefield, like the Middle East is right now, what is that like when all of a sudden you look up in the sky and you see a giant triangle? Do you start thinking UFO right away, or do you think, what the hell are we using this craft for, and why can't I identify it?
Well, I can tell you, as a soldier's not going to automatically jump on a UFO. They're going to think, whose is it? Is it a European craft? Is it, is it a foreign craft? That'll be the first thing that goes through their head. And then, then you have cases like with the gun camera footage. That's obviously an off-world craft. But if you're on the ground looking up, the first thing you're going to think is, who is it?
At any point, did you think that it was one of yours, as in the United States Air Force or the Navy's?
Well, and that's why the first thing I asked was, do you guys recognize this craft? Because I knew what their jobs were. And they looked at it, and we looked at it for a good 5-10 minutes, and they're like, no, that's nothing we're familiar with. So, the first thing I asked them, having already had, 2 UFO encounters, was, is this ours or is it something else?
So when you're staring up at this craft and you see the triangle and it's clearly shaped, how high is it above you? at this time or in the distance?
Oh God, let's see. I'm bad with measurements, but probably about 300 to 400 feet up. Not airline, height, but your typical helicopter height. And it was so Telefar is right on the border. We could see the lights of Syria. So Telefar is right on the border, and so it was probably over the border and crossing into Syria. And this would have been, like I said, 2006. So there wasn't so much a civil war going on in Syria then as there is now, obviously. Which would be another thing, I'd put into play as far as why would they have a craft going over Syria.
Did you think UFO, though?
I did after I asked them what their assessment was, yeah. Because basically I wanted to rule out whether it was ours or a UFO.
Okay, so you're on the battlefield. You have a black triangle over you guys. Is there panic going on at this point? Is it just kind of staring up in the sky, wondering what the hell is this? What goes through your mind? And do you call something like that in? Do you check with radar? Like, go into detail with me and explain this, because I find this extremely fascinating.
No, we always thought it was cool. I mean, and that's the difference between paranormal and a non-paranormal individual is, we all just, oh, wow, check it out, it's UFO. Once they established it was not ours. But you call it in, no. In the military, you don't call it in. Because, again, you just don't call those things in the military.
Mm-hmm. No, I can understand that, okay, because, I mean, we've heard it on this show before from ex-military members where that kind of stuff or those kind of reports kind of get you watched, so to speak.
Yeah.
Right. And you do have a career and a job to do, and I fully understand that, and I can appreciate that. But did anybody check with radar to see if there was any craft in the area?
No. Because again, in the positions they were in, they worked on the craft. They wouldn't even have thought to check with radar. Because I mean, it was obviously a craft in the air to us. So no, it wasn't validated at all on radar note.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so when you see this black triangle in a war zone, do you think it's coming at you? Do you think it's going to attack? Do you prepare yourself in case something happens that could be right out of the movie Transformers, and you're expecting this thing to transform into a biological robot? What's going on?
Like I said, no, we just thought it was cool. It was going the other direction, so it wasn't going to attack us or it was going to attack anybody. And it was moving very slow. It was obviously observing whatever it was.
Right. So when you started, or word started getting around about this, are there a lot of other soldiers on the battlefield who see these type of strange craft in the sky kind of observing, much like what they would call in World War II or even Vietnam as the Foo Fighters?
No, I don't think it went far. I don't think it went outside our circle, to be honest with you. So, no, I didn't hear. I didn't ask anybody. Because, again, you have to be careful who you talk to. Much the same as if you're just to report it, because word gets around real quick on a small base.
But does that happen often on a battlefield, though?
I think more often than not. But again, you're not going to hear about it because they don't get reported. Just like, when you have the New Fork and when you have MUFON, they don't get even half of the reports that people see. because I can guarantee a lot of people don't report what they see.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that's out of fear of ridicule or if that's out of just fear in general. But you'll find that even on the civilian side, you won't get that many reports. You'll get even less in the military.
Joe was asking what the UFO looked like.
It was, you couldn't tell a color. I couldn't tell if it was a black triangle or not. I just knew it was going by the light patterns. It was a triangular craft. And I know there blues and greens as far as the light goes.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. At that point, when you're sitting there, you're holding your AR-15 and you're surrounded by your buddies. Do you feel scared at all? It's kind of like, because you are in a hot zone, and you're already on edge in case something happens, and then this happens. What goes through you emotionally, or even some of your troops?
Like I said, nobody was scared of it. And, oftentimes with UFOs, they will project fear. But no, none of us, we thought it was fascinating more than anything. Were we scared? No.
It's only 400 feet off the ground, dude. How can you not be crapping your pants?
No, it was a quarter mile out, though. Quarter mile to half mile out. It wasn't like it was real close coming towards us or nothing. Had it been coming towards us, now that might have been a different story. And I don't know what the point of origin was, because we noticed it in the same spot in the sky every night, and it was heading away. So what the point of origin was, I have no idea. Just to give you a picture, you've got a mountain range. I'm bad directions, but on the back side of California, you've got a mountain range that separates Iraq from Turkey. And then you've got of course, the border going into Syria. So we're right on the corner of basically Turkish mountains in Syria. So there's no telling where it came from. It disappeared. Really, the lights went out or whatever as fast as it appeared. So I don't know what it was. It wasn't coming towards us, so it didn't bring in the fear factor, though.
At that point, what do you know about the secret space program or any type of hidden aircraft? At that point, you would have known about the F-117 stealth fighter. You would have known about the B-2 bomber, the B-1 bomber, all with stealth capabilities. Did you think at all, or did anything, even looking back at it, did you ever think that maybe that was some sort of hidden military technology?
And like I said, I never ruled that out. It could have been. It still could have been. But it definitely wasn't stealth, and it definitely wasn't F-117 or any of the ones that we know of. Because again, having aircraft professions that were with me, they along with their actual jobs, they do have military aircraft identification that they have to know. So I more or less took their word for it over my own, as far as, because they're the experts on that side of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I can totally see that, and I could see when you're going to turn to the experts, and the military is full of people who are trained to look at aircraft and immediately, whether it's night or dark or night or day, tell you what aircraft is in the air, whether it's by sound, whether it's by vision, because every aircraft has its own personality, shall we say.
Right.
And its own traits. Right. And when you have these guys who are saying, I don't know what the hell that is, that's got to be an odd feeling when you're, working for the greatest military in history.
Yeah, for me, it was exciting. I mean, by this time, I already had 2 UFO sightings. They're like, oh, wow, cool. So I'll just chalk this one up as another UFO sighting because, well, that's what it is. So, no, again, the fear factor never came in. I was more excited that, oh, wow, cool, I actually had a UFO experience in a combat zone. So that was the bottom line on that one. And for them, too, because they're like, oh, wow, cool, we've never actually seen a UFO, and now we have. But, no, the thought of Transformers never crossed your mind on that one.
I'm serious. We've seen that happen. It may be Hollywood, my friend, but we've seen that happen.
Right.
Hey, who hasn't believed a Hollywood story before? There's a reason why I don't go swimming in the ocean.
Right.
Or lakes.
Oh, and
or rivers.
or
ponds.
I assume you've seen the Meg already?
No, I haven't.
It's not. Dude, it's not that great. It was a good one-time flick, but nothing I'd want to put in my collection.
Well, either
they could
way,
have done a lot better. They could have done a lot better on it.
Either way, that sucker can take down an aircraft carrier. I am so not going on any smaller boat than that. Coop, I'm going to get you to hold on here for a couple of moments here while we go to our first break of the night. Eric Cooper from Forest Moon Paranormal is our guest. You can look them up, Forest Moon Paranormal, on their Facebook page. They got over 10,000 members. So make sure you join up on that group. I would really appreciate that. Forest Moon Paracon happens this Saturday in Cedar-Woolley, Washington. I will be down there speaking, and that's why I'm taking Friday night off, where we will have a network replay that night, so that way I can go to the Paracon. It's going to be a lot of fun, so really appreciate you holding on in. We got more with Coop coming up right after this break.
Find your escape where time has no limits. It's about living today and cherishing the heritage of yesterday. A spirit of adventure for what is new, with the nostalgia of the past. Your timepiece is a reflection of who you are. Life surrounded by beauty from the world around us to the soul within. EscapeWatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
The freedom to post what you want, when you want. That's the social media freedom you need. Social Media Freedom is the free app in your app store. No need to worry about going to jail or being shadow banned any longer. It's the freedom to say what you feel. The freedom to know Big Brother isn't watching. It's the way social media is supposed to be. Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free. Download from your app store today.
Coming September 28th to the 30th, it's our first annual Caribou Paracon, put on by Spaced Out Radio and the Canadian Society of Questers. 3 days of paranormal, supernatural, and spiritual knowledge in the beautiful 108 Mile Ranch, British Columbia. Tickets are $150 Canadian for the event, being held at the Spruce Hills Resort and Spa. Come watch our featured speaker, Grant Cameron, along with Lorian Fenton, David Weatherly, Ross Allison, and more. The Caribou Paracon, celebrating everything paranormal.
Hi there, I'm Butch Witkowski, lead investigator with U4Cop. On the final Monday of every month, you can listen to me and host Dave Scott on Spaced Out Radio's Strange Days. We're going to get to the heart of the matter when it comes to what's happening out there. People are seeing and experiencing things from ET contact to Bigfoot, and I want to hear about it. Your experiences are what we investigators need to help solve these unknown mysteries. So tune in at spacedoutradio.com to the final Monday of every month from Butch Witkowski's Strange Days.
Hi there, this is Tessa Nicole Thomas, and I'm going to take you for a ride every Sunday night on Spaced Out Sundays. I'm going to set up your week with some strange tales from across North America, from psychic readings, Sasquatch, UFOs, to the most haunted locations. Come join me at spacedoutradio.com starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, and let's get weird together. I'd love for you to join me. Spaced Out Sundays at spacedoutradio.com.
There's news, and there's The Encounter. This is Spaced Out Radio News Director Everett Thiemer inviting you to check out The Encounter. Our half-hour news segment every Monday through Friday night is different compared to what you're used to. Our goal is to bring you the weird, strange, and interesting stories the mainstream tends to leave out, and stories that will make you scratch your head in disbelief. The Encounter can also be found at spacedoutradio.com and on our Facebook page, SOR The Encounter. Come give us a read.
We're bringing scientific thought to the paranormal. Hi there, this is Spaced Out Radio scientist Chris Cogswell. Join me, Chris Zuger, and Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month, where we break down the who from the woo when it comes to everything paranormal. We'll investigate and try to bring sensible answers to those straight and sometimes outlandish questions people have. Hey, not everything has an answer, but we'll do our best. Listen in to Reality Paranormal only on Spaced Out Radio.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for some great nightlife? The Moose Vancouver is the place to be. Catch a game on one of the big screens or just come rock out to your favorite 80s and 90s hair bands. Great food starting at $6.95. The Moose Vancouver is open until 2 a.m. nightly. It's easy to find near the corner of Nelson and Granville. The Moose Vancouver is the official rocking bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Are you interested in advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Head to our website at spacedoutradio.com and click on our advertising tab. There, you will find an assortment of ways you can get your product out there with us, from radio commercials to banners and social media. Have a product you like our hosts to endorse? We can do that too. Visit spacedoutradio.com for more details.
Do you want to know what's really going on in your world? Do you have questions about who you can trust in the mainstream media? Then look no further than the Rebel Planet. Come get the straight answers right here at spacedoutradio.com. Join me, Jamie Sexton, creator of Rebel Planet News, as I fill you in on the stories behind the stories. All you truth seekers, be sure to tune in to Rebel Planet on spacedoutradio.com the third Thursday of every month.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Hey, this is Canadian Paranormal Investigator Mike Moore. The third Wednesday of every month, I'll be teaming up with Dave Scott to bring you Ghosts of the Great White North. Each month, we will bring on guests from across Canada to discuss their ghostly encounters. Canada is a paranormal hotbed with stories you've never heard, so we're going to bring them to you. So get comfy on your Chesterfield, grab a donut, and join us, eh?
The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guest and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Weekend, Spaced Out Radio Limited, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. And hit us up on Twitter using the hashtag SpacedOutRadio. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for being with us. Tomorrow night on the show, Lori Spania is going to join us. We're going to talk about the topic of ascension. Ascension. What is that all about? We'll learn more tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern at spacedoutradio.com. Welcome back, everyone, listening in on the SOR Radio Network, including Deep Talk Radio. And don't forget, you can also check out our archives on our YouTube channel. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. Bill Cardwell has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Rhino to Lexomania. Rhinotelexomania is your password. Make sure you use it wisely, space travelers, as Bill sets a password each and every night right here on the mighty SOR. Now, if you want to check out our website, spacedoutradio.com, we got a plethora of features for you. You can rock out to Bumblefoot, shop at our store, read up on the encounter online, and so much more. Don't forget, you can also go to questers.ca. That's questers.ca. Pick up your tickets right now by going to the fall conference on that website for the first annual Caribou Paracon, presented by Spaced Out Radio and the Canadian Society of Questers, September 28th through 30th. Our guest tonight, Eric Cooper, will be one of the speakers at this year's event, so we would love to have you on up. So come make it. It would be a lot of fun. And once again, we reintroduce Eric Cooper from Forest Moon Paranormal and the Forest Moon Paracon, which happens this Saturday in Cedar-Woolley, Washington State. So if you're in Oregon, Washington, hell, even Northern California, drive on up, hang out with us on the 22nd. It's only $5 to get on in for a great day of speakers and paranormal talk. Would love to have you all out here. And we're talking emergency paranormal tonight with Mr. Cooper, because that's what he will be speaking on at our Paracon, the Caribou Paracon, presented by Spaced Out Radio and the Canadian Society of Questers. Mr. Cooper, welcome back.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Oh, no problem. Hey, I want to start off with a question from our audience. This one comes from Adnome, who is asking right off the bat, because in hour number one, we were talking about, you being 19 and a half years in the United States Army, and you saw a lot of things. You saw combat action. You saw a lot of grotesque things that I know you and I have never talked about, and I'll never ask you about them. But you saw a lot of good things as well. So just wondering, he is asking, has anyone ever tried to blame any of these things on PTSD and say, you're absolutely crazy, Cooper, for what you and your team are doing? And how do you handle that type of criticism?
Okay, so going back, because when you asked the question, it had to do with the time warp, and I didn't get diagnosed with PTSD until about 2007. So PTSD wasn't a factor. It was addressed in 1993. They said, "Yep, you've got PTSD. Have a nice life," and they didn't fix it. So, moving along to about 1997, I was actually diagnosed with PTSD. But again, they never fixed it. They never did anything until the Iraq Wars. The Iraq Wars, about 80% of your soldiers that come back have PTSD. And they still try to say, you don't have PTSD. I mean, I had to fight Fort Lewis and the DOD and call in a senator to assist with, they basically try to give me 10% and have a nice life instead of a medical retirement. And even with a medical retirement, they screwed me out of my 20 years by 6 months. So, yes, Susan, I did retire. I'm medically retired. And the only real difference right now between a medical retirement and if I had been given 20 years, and Alon's, Joe, I know exactly what Alon's is. It's cavalry. So I did get medical retirement. I do have an ID card, and I am 100% VA compensated. So, a lot of soldiers don't want the PTSD diagnosis because they're scared of the stigma. They're scared of the harassment, the discrimination that can come with it. But again, you do have the ADA to fall back on, the American Disabilities Association, if that happens. Have I ever been called crazy being in the paranormal for having PTSD? No. Not for PTSD. You get more ridicule and crap from people for being in the paranormal in general. And, that's just a sad reality. The PTSD side of it's got nothing to do with it.
When you look at everything that you've gone through in the paranormal, and you and I have talked about this ad nauseum, mostly off the air, in regards to the way the paranormal is set up, how is it different from when you started until it is or the way it is today? How is it different?
Well, in many ways. You mean the paranormal in general?
Paranormal
or
in
the
general.
way we handle things?
No, just in general.
Paranormal in general. Okay, well, paranormal in general, and actually it hasn't changed a lot. It's still seen as entertainment. It was seen more as entertainment, back when we first started. And again, it's still seen as entertainment today. You got too many people that think what we do is the same as what they see on, say, Ghost Adventures or any paranormal, add the name TV show. So, yeah, and it's treated. That's the sad thing is the paranormal television shows treat it like it's entertainment. And if it's not treated like entertainment, it is entertainment, but it's treated like reality. So you have too many, we've talked about this many times, but you have too many people that want to jump into the paranormal and go ghost busting, and they go by the exact same things, but the exact same equipment they have on, these TV shows, and that's their education as well. And that's exactly how they go into the Smith's house to get that cool EVP and that awesome picture. And not only do they, if there is something there, let's hope there's not, because they just messed it all up. And now you've got clients that are dealing with even worse situations. And they got their cool picture and their EVP, and they're out the door. So, back when we first started, and even back as a kid, you had Ghostbusters, you had Close Encounters of the Third Kind, where you had movies, you had TV shows that were entertainment. And then we'll come to find out a lot of the, E.T. type shows had facts to them, which you do know if you're in this field.
How much does that bother you, the way the game has changed? Has it changed, in your opinion, for the good, the bad, the ugly? What's your opinion on that?
I think it's hit a plateau, because I don't see things getting worse. I don't see things getting better, but I think it's hit a plateau. I think the ones that want to jump into this field to want to make a name for themselves, to make a profit, whatever the case is, I think that's backed off. I may be mistaken. That's just been my assessment.
And we'll get more into that. We can get more into that here in a little bit. I want to get to Manolof's question in Revolution Radio chat room, and he is asking, he says, Eric, I saw the same triangle craft like 400 to 500 feet up in Lakeview, Arkansas. It was partially cloaked. Mm-hmm. Was there any lights other than just the 3 that you saw on each tip?
Like I said, it's back in, I don't think so. I think it was just there are greens and blues. I remember that. And if I remember right, there was a white light. But it was primarily green and blue lights.
Cool.
So was it partially cloaked? It could have been. But again, it was moving away. So, you look 1 minute, it's there. You look at, the next minute, it was gone.
Interesting. Very interesting. One of the things that I like about you is you hate the word or how the word paranormal is used. Why is that such a pet peeve of yours?
It is because if you look at the definition of paranormal, it's anything outside the normal range. And I take that a step further with the normal range of science, society, and culture. So, and you see a lot of infighting within the paranormal field. You go to the UFO groups and, well, there's no such thing as ghosts. And I've seen that. I've seen that stated. You go to a hauntings group and, we don't talk about UFOs and aliens here. Oh, why not? It's all paranormal. I mean, I get that you might want to have a specialized group. That's fine. I understand that. But don't tell me it's not paranormal. Because it is. It very much is. Bigfoot, cryptids. And, you know, there's things we don't even, you could even label the fairies as paranormal because they're outside the normal range. So, for the first time, FMP has actually had a booth at the farmer's market here in Concrete all summer. And oh my God, it was time consuming. It took all weekends. And that was fine. It got the word out that we were here. You don't know how many people came up and said, "Where are you guys from?" Here in Concrete. Seriously? I'm from Concrete. And I never, so, you know, it was great about getting the exposure, getting the word out that we are here. We are here to help. And then you had the ones that said, "Oh, are you guys Ghostbusters?" Like, no, we're a paranormal emergency response team. So, you know, with that, then you go into explaining it's Bigfoot, it's UFOs, it's alien abduction, it's, you know, obviously the hauntings, the spirit attacks, the malevolent entities, the whole 9 yards. And that excited a couple of them because they're awesome. You guys actually defined the name paranormal then. Like, well, yeah, that's what the point is. But, yeah, that's why I hate the common definition. You go to any random person on the street and say, what do you think about paranormal? And they'll say, "Oh, it's spirits and hauntings." They don't, for the most part, don't look at the bigger picture.
Explain what that bigger picture is, though, for people who may not understand.
The bigger picture is Bigfoot, other cryptids like Dogman. I used to label Mothman, but I've heard from a lot of people that Mothman was a hoax. Is it? I don't know. I don't have any proof of that. You know, and then you got UFOs, alien abduction. Actually, I kind of changed my terminology with it's not just alien abduction, but alien interaction. Because you have the contactees who are the ones that have benevolent experiences with good aliens. So you can't take them out of the equation either. So alien contact in general, not just the abduction, but the contactee side as well. And then, of course, you've got, you know, the hauntings and the other creatures out there. You know, I've got one case where someone saw and we haven't followed up because they never called back. If they don't call back, then I'm, okay, they haven't seen it again. There was a goat-like creature that walked in front of the window. So, you know, I see it as even going into Earth changes, you can say, you know, can be paranormal. Like, I'm sure you heard the story about the gray ghost that was seen in the hurricane. I mean, is that paranormal or is that, you know, a psychosomatic event?
That I have no clue. That was a strange one, though.
Right. But, I mean, you know, it's not normal. So it's a paranormal event.
So the way people use paranormal then, do you think it's because they, you know, I mean, us as people in general, we try to take the lazy form of language any chance we can? Do you think that's all it is people not understanding what the word paranormal is, or because it's been defined through television and other mediums that paranormal is only associated with ghosts and ghost hunting, that's what it automatically means?
I think it can fall into the realm of paranormal TV because that's all they define it as. And face it, most humans are too lazy to look things up. They're too lazy they sit in front of the tube, and that's what they base their definitions off of.
So when it comes to emergency paranormal, let's start to get into this now.
Mm-hmm.
You define your job with Forest Moon Paranormal as what?
An emergency response team. Now, that doesn't mean we won't go, you know, check out an encounter that someone's got that's non-emergency. Our primary mission is paranormal emergencies, which So when I get a phone call, I do an assessment, and I assess whether is it spirit, is it alien abduction, or is it other. And that's kind of what I do. What pretty much how I base how the team's going to handle it. So when I do the assessment, if we have multiple cases, because face it, we deal with close to 5 cases a day. Not always, but on the average, we're about a 5 case a day team. So if I have multiple cases coming at once, I have a 4-tier, which I go off of. Now, tier 1 is children and pregnant women. That's the priority. Children because they're more open, children because they see more and they're more vulnerable. Pregnant women because they're already pregnant, they are already, the fetus is weak, and any kind of stress can affect the fetus, whether it's paranormal or, any kind of regular stress. You don't want paranormal to add to it. Also, there are entities out there that want to take the soul. So that's tier 1. Tier 2 is any case involving physical injury or terror level. We have a terror, any kind of high-level terror event would be tier 2. Tier 3 is anything UFO and abduction related. Again, that can go to the top based on if it's a child or, pregnant woman. And tier 4 is just a random Bigfoot sighting that we need to go check out, or, other cryptids, which we don't have too many other cryptids up here in Washington. So that's the tiers we base it off of.
And how did you come up with that list?
So it's called triage. Okay, how did I come up with a list? Basically, experience with cases we were dealing with prior. Now, once we got into the astral side, and we started working globally, and multiple cases started coming in, we had to come up with a system to, prioritize.
So when you decided to break it down into the different actual segments of the paranormal, I mean, that sounds so simple, Coop. Sounds so easy to kind of break it down. Why do you think other teams are not following that guideline?
Because, face it, I only know of maybe 2 other teams that handle this on an emergency level. A majority of your teams aren't in it for the client. They're in it for a picture and an EVP. And they don't care about breaking things down to, tiers. They don't, I've seen it. I can tell you at least 5 out of 10 cases we get, they've had other teams come in. Other teams made it worse. I don't want to get into paranormal bashing, but it's just the sad reality is a good number of our clients we get have had other teams come in. And it's really great when, other teams have actually called us in because they can't fix a problem and they need help. And so they call us in. We send the astral team in and help them rectify it. But that's a rarity.
There's a lot of
ego plays.
Yeah, and I was going to say that about ego and pride. Ego and pride
right.
take a lot in that, but I mean, how much of that though is inexperience that these other groups either A, don't want to admit they can't solve the problem themselves, or even B, don't believe there is no problem whatsoever.
And from that's why we have a therapist. Francie actually has I don't have her credentials in front of me, but I know she's got a master's degree, I believe, in psychology and bachelor's in psychiatric. She's degreed. She's been in the psych field for a good 20 years. So she's actually got protocols in place for us that helps us define, basically, if it's not paranormal, different kinds of psychiatric issues it could be. And if we come across a case where we can't find anything, we send them basically, or if they keep coming back, If it's a repeat case over and over again, we will send them to Francie for an assessment. Francie will talk to the client, and then it goes, if she feels they need therapy, she will find them a resource close to them to go talk to. Now, if they don't follow through, there's only so much you can do.
No, I understand that and appreciate that. I really do. And I think, we've talked about the downfall of what's wrong with the paranormal in the past. And I don't want to take this down that road because this isn't about a paranormal bashing show. But nonetheless, there are concerns out there. So what exactly does your team do? You mentioned that you have been contacted by other teams to help out. I don't think there's a lot of people who fully understand that.
Okay, so when I get a phone call, and I'm in about 60 other paranormal groups on Facebook. So oftentimes I'll get tagged in a case where somebody's describing what's going on, they're asking for help. Or I'll get contacted directly by an admin of other groups. I'll get emails. I'll even get phone calls. Once I, get kind of an assessment of what's going on, they're hearing knocks. They've got a bad smell coming through their house. They've got, apparitions. They've got shadows, things of that nature. All I need really is an address. And if the case is directly attached to them, I'll need a picture. If it's something going on in their home and it's not leaving their home, then it's connected to the house, sometimes the property. So what we do is we'll take the address, we'll do a Google map, and I'll get an actual lot on their location. And that's all the astral team needs. Once the astral team either, one, sees a current picture of the client or sees the location, then they can automatically go there within seconds. And once they get there, now bear in mind for those that aren't familiar with astral travel, we actually have an astral school coming up on the 26th for basic astral. Everything we do is free of charge. But back in the 60s and 70s, they had the CIA did what's called remote viewing, and that was basically going by a set of grid coordinates, and they mentally left their mind and traveled there, and they could see. They couldn't interact. Only see. It was viewing. That's all it was. So with astral travel, and that's confusing for some, but remote viewing is not what we do. We do astral travel. Remote viewing is harmless. Remote viewing, you cannot get hurt. Astral travel, however, you can. You can get killed in astral travel if you're not careful. We have protocols in place that we do to keep our team safe. But with astral travel, it's kind of like what you hear is out-of-body experience. That's kind of the precursor for many to understand. And so with astral travel, you leave your body, not your soul. I'm trying to think of the easiest way to explain it, because I've been asked this before. So your soul leaves? No, your soul does not leave. Your soul is always in your body. But your consciousness leaves your body, and will go through the astral realm based on the picture. So once you lock onto the current picture of the client we have, you will be there with them. And I mean, you can even ask Markham. Tony went to Markham's house. Well, Tony's been to your house. But with Markham, he actually, called Markham and told him, so there's a portal inside the second bedroom of your closet, and that made a skeptic a believer, because you can't get blueprints of the inside of someone's house. So with location, once they get there, you can see, you can interact, you can speak with spirits, and then you go into astral combat with malevolent entities, whether it's a demon. Demons are rare, but they do occur. But whether it's a demon, whether it's another malevolent entity type, because there's hundreds of malevolent entities that are non-demonic. It might be Fae. Fae have been popping up a lot. Now, that's either because someone landscaped an area that was sacred to the fairies. It could be the earth changes. There's a wide spectrum that cause interferences with the Fae. I'm reading Joe's comment. If you have a portal inside your house, can you use it to get rid of your trash? No, unfortunately not. I wish. Now, when it comes to alien abduction, the team will go in. They'll find an implant. They'll find all the implants, and they will basically, in a nutshell, blast it with an energy blast, and that disables it. Now, once the implant is disabled, it kind of sparks interest in whatever race is doing the abducting, and they'll come down and check it out. Depending which race it is, some of them will want to go to combat. The other ones will cut their ties and leave and try to wait us out and come back in and reactivate their implants. But that's it in a nutshell. Now with Astral, we're global. We've done cases in Ireland, Scotland, South Africa, Israel. It doesn't really matter. We can go anywhere on the planet. Right now, we're actually working on 2 missing persons cases. So, yes, we can use our team to track missing people. Much easier when they're, unfortunately, I say this, it's frustrating because it's much easier to track them as a spirit than a living person. Spirits are easier to communicate with. So basically, the 2 cases we're working on are recoveries, not looking for missing people. So,
I got a couple questions in the chat room for you. This one coming from Nigel, who is asking, in your tier system that you use for the paranormal, which tier is currently the one you deal with the most?
You know what? I would have to say lately it's been a lot of child cases. I would say child, and I'd say the terror, with number 3 being abduction, because we've had a couple abduction cases lately. But I'd say we've had a few children and a couple on the terror, the terror level. And then we've been spending a lot of time on...
Normally, though?
Say again?
Normally, though, is it UFOs? Is it ghosts?
I don't think there's any more than the other. I'd say it's about 50-50 between the abduction and the spirit, or the entity. I can't definitively say it's definitely this or it's definitely that. It's about 50-50.
Another question from... go ahead. Go ahead, Coop.
Well, the missing persons is fairly new to us. We tried it out 2 or 3 years ago. It didn't work out based on who we were working with. So we're just now kind of delving back into it because we were requested by a family. So it is new, and hopefully I'll have some good results here in a couple of days, because I know we have boots on ground that are in both those sites. So hopefully we'll bring closure to the families.
Another question coming, this one from Susan, who is asking, how does one sign up for this course?
So if you're in the Forest Moon Paranormal group, you'll get all the details of everything we do. That's the easiest way I can tell you. Richard Banak, if you look for him on Facebook, is our astral instructor. Right now he's doing just a very basic what is astral and how to shield, things of that nature.
For people who may not understand what astral travel is, can you break that down?
So astral travel is, like I said, like out-of-body experience. And oftentimes, someone will describe an out-of-body experience, and in all reality, they're astral traveling. It's a matter of getting a hold of it and controlling it. It's basically your consciousness leaving your body and traveling in the astral realm. Now, think of multiple dimensions. Normally, the normal human doesn't need to go to multiple dimensions. They just stay in the astral realm. That's where you belong if you're going to travel. The other realms have many creatures you don't want to deal with and many creatures that don't want to deal with humans. So, yeah, the astral realm is where we stay. Think of another dimension that is in your home, because, our team will walk through your house, but you won't see them. Some clients will feel them. And we've had cases where their dogs were following, the team down the hallway. And the client was saying, wow, our dog's following something. And Tony's like, oh, that's just me. Don't worry. But, yeah, the pets can see the team, but the client won't. The client can feel them. Again, it's hard to explain, but that's it in a nutshell. It's your consciousness leaving your body and going to the astral realm.
Can anybody do this? Can anybody astral travel?
Yes, they can. And all we do is hone them, train them, and teach them how to do it safely.
Very cool. Very cool. That's something that I got to admit. Go ahead.
Let me clarify. Most people can astral. Some people are blocked. I'm blocked, for example. I can't astral. I'm not allowed to astral. I'm not meant to astral. I'm meant to lead. That's what I do. Which is why I have an astral team. I'm merely the one that mediates between client and team, and I'm the one who feeds intel.
Okay, so what's the difference between astral travel and an out-of-body experience where you're kind of tied to a cord, so to speak?
I don't know how to answer that one because, to be honest with you, I don't know enough about OBE. Other than that is the precursor. The team doesn't travel on a cord. I can tell you that. With astral travel, we don't have a cord we're tied to. We're not tied to our body. We just, if you're in astral and somebody goes to wake you up, you'll be shot right back into your body and it can hurt you. But OBE, I can't give you a real good definition or of the difference between the two.
All right, this goes to Jade's question, and she is asking, what can one do to prevent someone from astral traveling in their midst?
Explain that one?
Okay, let's say, you're walking around your house, you're getting ready for a shower, you take all your clothes off, and you're about to hop in the shower or the bath. How do you know that someone isn't astral traveling there to kind of be a peeping Tom on you kind of thing?
Okay. That's what I thought I heard you. Shielding would be the best method. I'm trying to think. Because, we only go where we're asked to for cases when it comes to, but I have had cases where people are having astral attackers, essentially. I would say a basic shielding. And again, that's kind of like, your personal bubble is the easiest way to explain a shield. So if you meditate and you envision a bubble of energy around you, and it's pliable, and you can push it around you. But it's not something you build one time and leave. It's something you have to build all the time or work on all the time. But then when you're talking property to keep astral travelers out, yes, there are, methods you can use. But it's not something you would learn listening to a radio show, to be honest with you.
How long does it take?
It's a lot more.
How long does it take to perfect the practice and to perfect the blocking?
A couple. I mean, if you do it half an hour every day, it is perfect. For the basic, the basic shield, and then actually, if you do some research, get the right books, get the right materials, you can really, basically like a spell. That shields your home, shields your property. And that's what we have here, because we kind of have to. Because the protocols we use, the team actually touches down on our property, goes to the client's house, does the mission, comes back here in the event they're being followed. And they'll leave whatever's following them here before they go home. We have a lot of different protocols we use to keep the team safe. Like I said, what we use to protect our home based on what we do is a lot more extensive than what you're ever going to see.
Stardust Man in Revolution Radio's chat room is asking, is it possible, Eric, for one astral traveling to be mistaken for a ghost?
I think so. Again, you can't. Now, I think it's going to depend on the ability of the person. If you've got abilities and you don't understand your abilities or don't know you have them, you might see the team, for example. You might see them as a shadow. You might feel a presence. It's not a spirit. It could be someone in astral. Once you know the difference in the energies, you'll know what you're feeling. But is it possible? That's always been an experiment I wanted to try that I never had the chance to try, is to get an SLS camera and see if you could pick anything up with the astral team.
Does it work on cryptids? Bigfoot?
What's that?
Astral travel. Could you astral travel to find a Bigfoot family? Could you astral travel to see where they are? Because, there's so much myth and legend around the big hairy creature. I'm just curious.
We've tried that, and so far, no, it hasn't worked.
Well, why do you think that is?
But, my beliefs. Personally, I think Bigfoot is supernatural. I think Bigfoot is interdimensional. Which would make sense because interdimensional does not mean astral. It's a different dimension. So it's something we are going to work on. Tony's going to be here Wednesday, so we might send Tony up astral on the mountain and see if he can find Bigfoot.
Mm-hmm. That would be interesting.
So
that would be very interesting to see that. And what about with UFOs and aliens? Is it a way to define what is going on? Is it a way to communicate? Because many people don't know how to communicate.
Very much so, because you do have a couple races that do actually use astral for travel. You got interdimensional alien races. Not all of them are interplanetary or other planetary. So what's funny is when we deal with the abduction case, aliens don't expect us. They don't expect humans to be astral traveling. That just it catches them off guard completely. They don't they expect humans in this dimension, not astral. So it's a benefit. Same with spirits. Spirits communicate. We talk to spirits all the time on cases. And again, spirits, other entities, and aliens don't expect a team to show up on the astral plane. That's just, it's a benefit we have with dealing with them. You don't need to do an exorcist to remove a demon. We remove demons when we encounter them using astral.
How many demons are out there? Because
I couldn't tell you.
No, but what I'm saying is, how often do you run into them? Because from a lot of paranormal investigators that I have talked to, anyone with credibility, they say there are not many demons out there that you actually incur. There may be just very upset spirits or spirits who have learned their traits and their powers on the other side, but there's not many demons out there whatsoever. What's your thoughts on that?
Okay, so you have to look at the number of cases we do versus the number of cases some of the other teams do. The average team might do, 2 or 3 cases a month? Just on a guess. You do have more active teams out there too. But so on the number of cases we do, we might handle 2 to 3 actual demons a year. Maybe. That are actually demonic. And you base that off 5 cases a day times a year, and that is a very low number. So when you have to look at types. There's the upper echelon demons, which you will very, very seldom encounter. They have more important things to do than mess with humans. When they do, they don't do a straight attack. They're the ones that actually cause depression, and they will, in the end result, attempt to make someone commit suicide. That's how they destroy you.
Right.
Then you got the lower echelon demons, and they're the nasties. They're the ones that are, will do a blatant physical attack and do scratches, and it doesn't mean they have 3 scratches, because I get tired of hearing that too. Oh my God, I got scratched with 3 marks. That doesn't necessarily mean it's a demon. It can be a pissed off spirit as well. Yes, so it's really, I think the biggest denominator you have to look at is the energy, and you deal with them enough, you're going to know what the energy feels like. They're really nasty. They're sometimes hard to deal with. I remember the first time a couple of our team encountered a demon, they actually had to pull out, even in astral, because they were nauseous and throwing up. So even from the astral side, they can be nasty and they can mess us up.
I do have to ask, and there are a couple more questions that I got to get to here from the audience, but I do have to ask, in regards to astral travel, is it possible to use that to cleanse your own house? Can you cleanse your house by yourself to see what is going on? Because there's a lot of people out there who say it's a bad idea to try and cleanse or to even investigate your own property or your own house.
Why not? Our team takes care of their own home all the time. I mean,
well, I guess the theory behind that, is the biasness that you might not see what's actually hidden.
Okay, so if Brent wants to clear his house and he isn't so sure about what he sees, for example, he can call in Sarah, and Sarah will come to his house astrally. And 2 eyes are always better than 1, or 2 sets of eyes are always better than 1. We don't handle cases with 1 individual usually, unless they go in and scout it out and see what it is to bring the team in. But I've always believed, 2 sets of eyes are better than 1. One person's going to see things differently than the other. So you can clear your own house, yes, but it's always better to have another set of eyes, because they might catch something you don't.
Let's get to
now.
Go ahead.
Real quick, I also think what they're talking about is some of these people that, do EVP sessions in their own home. And if you do an EVP session and you're playing it, some people think it can open up a channel that can bring stuff in. And I get asked, is watching paranormal TV make my home susceptible? No, I don't think so, because it's entertainment. Doesn't mean it's not possible. Same thing as playing an EVP back in your own home. Could that open up a channel? It could. So, I think some of the people that are saying you shouldn't do it in your own home are referring to that. But as far as actually cleansing your own home, yeah, people cleanse their own homes all the time.
All right.
We teach people how to cleanse their own home. So.
All right, let's get to another question here. This one coming out of, I believe, is the Revolution Radio chat room from Stardust Man. He is asking, is there a theory such as interdimensional astro traveling? Has any of your team done that?
Not interdimensionally, no. I think Tony can go interdimensional, and maybe one other that can actually go dimension hopping, essentially. It takes a high level of skill to do it safely. So we encourage the team not to, because you never know what you're going to encounter that you don't want to deal with. So on that note, no, for the most part, there's only maybe 3 on the team that actually will.
Let's get to Ron's question, and Ron here will actually be coming up to the Paracon up here in 108 Mile Ranch. Thank you.
Oh, great. I get to meet Ron?
Yeah. The Ukrainian watermelon is making his way from Saskatchewan. That's for sure.
Awesome.
He is asking...
I'll get to meet you, Ron.
Absolutely. You got to keep the beard. By the way, there's no shaving the beard until after the Caribou Paracon.
That's fine. But I got called Grandpa today over my own son, and that just rubs me the wrong way.
I know the feeling. It's happened to me. 3 times over the summer, man. Oh, is this your grandchild? That's my son. Don't let the gray beard fool you. Don't let the gray beard fool you. I'm still pretty underneath it. Still pretty. But the Ukrainian watermelon is asking, what is and how do you protect yourself during sleep paralysis or old hag syndrome?
Oh, God. See, I wasn't expecting specific situations. So, okay, sleep paralysis, number 1, if you're sure it's old hag syndrome, I would get a medical follow-up to make sure it's not a medical issue. And that's what I tell all clients. We always look for medical issues before we jump on paranormal, because it can be a medical problem. Once you've ruled out a medical issue, let's see, sleep paralysis. I would go with how you're sleeping for one. I'm thinking here. Basic grounding for one. And again, if he wants to talk offline, we can talk offline as far as his specific sleep paralysis he's got going on.
Well, you can talk to him next week.
Okay, good deal.
You can talk to him next week. I don't know if that's a personal issue or not.
Right. I would go with the basic grounding once you ruled out medical issues. Because is it old hag or is it abduction? Because abduction is also, a sleep paralysis is part of abduction as well. So it could be multiple issues going on.
I could see that. Let's go back into the forest and talk about Bigfoot. And what is Forest Moon's Paranormal's role in looking out in the forest, not only for missing people, but for Sasquatch as well?
Oh, it's awesome. And I know you've experienced it. It's a very unique experience to have Bigfoot respond with knocks. When you call back to them and they respond with knocks. within minutes. Larry Anderson is our Bigfoot specialist on the team. He's been Bigfooting up here in our area for about 35 years. So if we really get a hot case, we'll call him in as well if he's around. We have a couple hot spots. I'm sure there's more, but there's a couple hot spots that I like to refer to, and that's one is over around the Baker Lake area, where there's actually a family of them. The young Bigfoot have been seen, and personally, I think music plays a big role, and I think that's why they do knocks. Larry had a friend that went up in the mountains, not even Bigfoot, and he just went to play, get away and sit in a meadow and play guitar. And he sat out there for like 2 hours and he strummed his guitar for a while. And he left. He went back the next day, and there's a pile of flowers right where he was playing his guitar. They gifted him with flowers for his music. I think they enjoy music. I think the knocks and the howls and, the noises they make are all part of their language, and I think music plays a part of that language.
We're going to get more into that as we're going to come out right now for our final break of the night. Eric Cooper is our guest from Forest Moon Paranormal. He will be holding his third annual Forest Moon Paracon Saturday, September 22nd, so just 5 days away. I will be going down to speak at that event, and then the following week, Eric will be up at the Forest Moon, representing Forest Moon, at the first annual Caribou Paracon up here in 108 Mile Ranch. We're going to continue with Emergency Paranormal and more chatter right after this on Spaced Out Radio.
Are you tired of being blocked, shadow banned, or placed in jail for simply posting your thoughts on social media? Social Media Freedom can take care of that for you. Social Media Freedom is the newest and one of the best free new apps that allows you the freedom to post what you want when you want. It takes seconds to download from your app store. Come join the tribe at Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free.
The first annual Caribou Paracon is happening September 28th to 30th in the 108 Mile Ranch, British Columbia. Brought to you by the Canadian Society of Questers and Spaced Out Radio. Come listen to our featured speaker, Grant Cameron, along with Elizabeth Anglin, Paisley Town, Mike Moran, Eric Cooper, and more. It's a 3-day supernatural adventure at the Spruce Hills Resort and Spa. Tickets for the weekend are $150 Canadian. The Caribou Paracon, celebrating everything paranormal.
A timepiece is a reflection of who you are, and what better way to show off the real you than with an Escape watch? Escape is a lifestyle brand accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized Escape watch. Head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Find yourself constantly looking up in the sky, looking for answers? Have you had extraterrestrial contact? Are you an abductee? Looking for answers to your experiences? Hi there, I'm R. Keith Andrews, Spaced Out Radio's resident ET expert. Join me live the first Friday of every month where I take questions from the Spaced Out Radio chat room and help you understand those from the far-off world. It's 2 hours of knowledge every experiencer should listen to. Hope to see you there.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app. Free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
The Call of the Wild is in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is one of the hottest bars and restaurants in the city. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose will rock you like a hurricane all night long. Great food with everything on the menu at $6.95 near the corner of Nelson and Granville. Get your horns up and come rock with us. The Moose Vancouver, the official rocking bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Are you an experiencer? Have you had run-ins with strange creatures you can't explain? ETs, Dogman, Bigfoot, werewolves? They're enough to scare the daylights out of anyone. Hi there, I'm Butch Witkowski from your 4-Cop. And on the last Monday of every month, you can listen to me and the host, Dave Scott, talk about the weird and the strange being reported on Spaced Out Radio. I'm going to bring my investigations and sources, you bring your experiences, and we'll figure out the rest together. Strange Days on Spaced Out Radio. Come tune us in at spacedoutradio.com.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
You know, it's hard being the bad man of ufology, but that's just the way that I like it. This is Chris George Zuger, and I'll be hanging out with Dave Scott and SOR scientist Chris Cogswell for Reality Paranormal, the second Wednesday of every month. And our job is to break it down and come to conclusions as to what is really going on in the supernatural world. I'd love for you to join us and bring your questions for us to investigate right here on Spaced Out Radio.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
When it comes to the news, we look for the stories that the mainstream won't cover. Welcome to Spaced Out Radio's The Encounter. This is News Director Everett Thiemer. The Encounter is about the weird and strange stories that occur daily, and we scour the world looking to bring them to you. You can hear me with Dave Scott every Monday through Friday in our Encounter news segment. Read us online at spacedoutradio.com or check us out and give our Facebook page a like at SOR The Encounter. So come give The Encounter a read.
From the mile-high state of Colorado, sharing our signal around the world, I invite you to Spaced Out Sundays. Hi, I'm Tessa Nicole Thomas, and I'm closing out the week by taking you on a paranormal journey to the world of the weird. Ghosts, aliens, psychic phenomena, I will hit it all in your questions too. So let us highlight the paranormal for you. So come join me for Spaced Out Sundays starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, 12 a.m. Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com.
The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guest and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Weekend, Spaced Out Radio Limited, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and hashtag Spaced Out Radio, and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back to the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio. Tonight, I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for being with us. Tomorrow night on the show, we learn all about Ascension with our guest, Lori Spagna. What's it all about? We're going to get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern at spacedoutradio.com. Hello, everyone listening in on the SOR Radio Network at Deep Talk Radio. And don't forget, you can check out our archives. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. Bill Cardwell has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Rhinotelexomania. Rhinotelexomania is your password. Make sure you use it wisely, Space Travelers, as Bill sets the password each and every night right here on the mighty SOR. Our website, is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. You can rock out to Bumblefoot, shop at our store, read up on the encounter online, and so much more. Don't forget, you can also get your tickets right now. The event is only about 10 days away. 10 days? Maybe 12. For the first annual Caribou Paracon, presented by Spaced Out Radio and the Canadian Society of Questers, September 28th through 30th at the Spruce Hill Resort and Spa in 108 Mile Ranch, British Columbia. Go to questers.ca. Questers.ca. Get your tickets right now. Speaking at that conference will be Eric Cooper from Forest Moon Paranormal. He also has, coming up this weekend, the Forest Moon Paracon, September 22nd. That's this Saturday in Cedar-Woolley, Washington State, which I hope all of you attend. I will be down there as one of the guest speakers. Thank you, Eric, for allowing me to come down there for the third straight year and speak my mind.
Mm-hmm. It's always awesome.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to a quick
getaway. So are we.
Hey, right before the break, we were talking a little bit about Bigfoot and how you use the Astral Team and Forest Moon Paranormal to deal with Sasquatch situations. And this leads to a question from Adnome in the chat room, who was asking, do you think Bigfoot is a spiritual, dimensional, or just an awesome hide-and-seek creature of the woods?
So, you know what? My personal opinion, and I personally think Bigfoot is a guardian. I think... and I won't put him in the same category as Fae. I don't think he's a fairy creature. I think he's... and I don't even know if elemental would be the proper category for him. But I do think he's a guardian of the mountains. I base that on... there's too many supernatural characteristics of Bigfoot. You've got too many people that had game cameras out, for example, and, they saw the coyote and they saw the deer, and all of a sudden the camera goes white and they hear, primate noises, and the camera clears up and it's back to normal. That kind of shows to me supernatural. The fact that you won't see one, the fact that you won't find bodies, bones, no one's hit one, things of that nature. I think he's a guardian. You've got cases where people that have seen a Bigfoot, sometimes they're welcomed, but other times they'll get rocks thrown at them, they'll get logs thrown at them, they won't get attacked per se, but they'll get warned. I believe the nature of the individual is picked up on by Bigfoot. I think, because if I'm in the mountains, I do have a firearm, but I still get knocks. Whereas if you're hunting, I think he knows what your intention is. I carry a firearm in case I have a bear attack, if I have a cougar attack, things of that nature. I would never hunt Bigfoot. I think Bigfoot's, a supernatural being. Why am I going to try to harm one? I think anyone that wants to harm a Bigfoot, go to prison. Which I think is great that, Washington State's one of the, I believe, only states in the United States that actually has protection laws for Bigfoot. And I know Canada, certain Canadian provinces do as well. That shows to me, certain government agencies recognize the possibility of a Bigfoot if they're going to put laws into place.
I think it's an interdimensional, supernatural type creature. That's the way I have always stated it. That's the way I believe it is. And that's something that I am going to be sticking with on that due to my own personal experience. I want to switch over to UFOs here for a quick second, because I don't think a lot of people tend to believe that UFOs have anything to do with anything ghostly, or I'm going to use the word paranormal. I know you like to use it as an umbrella term, but I don't think a lot of people actually make the two correlate together. Yet, do you think that there is some sort of correlation between UFOs and ghostly responses?
Ghostly, No, although we have had the rare case where we've had multiple issues going on in one spot. Whether it was a UFO sighting over the house, and they also had spirit activity and, other entity activity as well. I think those, I can't prove the theory, but honestly, I think cross ley lines have a role in that. Ley lines are, kind of like a magnetic field of crossed energy that circles the Earth. It's not really scientifically proven, but it is. It's just one of those things that doesn't get brought out too much. You can Google ley lines on Google and actually get maps of the Earth and see where ley lines cross and whatnot. What I'd like to do, if I ever had the income, I would actually get a whole bunch of different maps and pinpoint Bigfoot hotspots, UFO hotspots, and high amount of haunting activity, and see if they, all intersected in certain areas. I know, Paulides has his cluster maps of missing people. I'd like to include that as well. But it'd be interesting to see if all these paranormal activity are all, located in certain areas.
No, I can see that. And, I have heard David Paulides, he's actually stated that they have noticed that a lot of these incidents do happen in clusters. Do you believe, like, as you're saying, you're starting to look into more missing persons cases with Forest Moon now? Do you believe that maybe there is a tie between some of these people going missing in the mountainous areas and maybe Bigfoot taking them?
No, I don't think Bigfoot's taking people. That's just my personal opinion. There's been cases where kids got lost away from camp, and a Bigfoot got the kids and took them back to camp. I don't think Bigfoot's taking people. As far as the missing people go, I think they're walking into portals, wormholes. You've got cases of kids that 5 years old, they disappeared, and they were found on the other side of a mountain range. A 5-year-old's not going to make it that far. How do they get there? Is it government? Is it aliens? I don't think it's aliens either. That's just one of those mysteries that we'll probably never know.
Let's get to a question here. This one from Trips. He goes, Guardians of the Mountains, wonder why there hasn't been any mass sightings at mountain removal for coal.
And that's an interesting point. I saw that comment. Instead of looking for mass sightings, I would look for mass disappearances. And I know I just said Bigfoot doesn't take people, and I still don't think Bigfoot takes people, but I'd be looking for terror reports. And just because you don't see mass sightings doesn't mean they aren't there. They may not be reported. Just a perspective. But that's a good point. If they are guardians, then wouldn't they be protecting the coal sites or the destruction of the mountains? And depending on the state, you have to look at a completely different perspective, because in the South they have the swamp ape. They don't have Bigfoot. They have the swamp ape, which is a very aggressive creature. But look at the fact that he's got a lot of hair. He's in a very hot, humid area. I'd be really ticked off too. I think they're cousins. I don't think they're directly related. I think they're related in some aspect. Just like the Yeti in, I believe it's India. They're all a very similar description and very similar acting, but different continents and, different features, because I believe the Yeti is white, whereas our Bigfoot here is black or brown.
Right. Right.
And I believe the swamp ape is brown.
All right. I want to ask you about the emergency side of everything, okay? Because in dealing with missing people, in dealing with paranormal activity, whether it's demonic or just an upset spirit, poltergeist, or alien type abduction, how many cases a day are you working on this? And have you noticed any patterns in the cases that you have had reported to you?
So, like I said, we do have maybe 3 cases one day, 5 cases another day. So on the average, we do average about 5 cases a day. And that's globally. As far as patterns, it's harder to find a pattern. Because you're going to have fairies attacking a cat on one case. You're going to have spirits knocking on a house in another case. And you're going to have an abduction. There is no rhyme or reason. There is no set pattern to it. The bottom line is we're here for the paranormal as well as the client, because in some cases it's a matter of helping the paranormal aspect as well as the client. Sometimes, it's a matter of mediation. And I've said this on your show before, too. Watch the others, and you'll get a perfect example of what a spirit experiences. Not all spirits know not all spirits know they passed on. So basically, you're intruding in their home. They're not intruding in yours. So it's a matter of explaining to them, you've passed, and you're scaring the dog, you're scaring the kids. And sometimes the spirit will say, "Oh my gosh, I didn't know. I'm sorry." And they can pass if they want, because some people say, "Oh, all spirits got to pass." No, they don't. If they don't want to, and they're not causing a problem, there's no reason to pass them on. Using the hub for example. The 22-year-old that died in the 1900s, he's having a blast. Why are we going to pass him over? He doesn't want to go. He's there more to protect the women and to go into the hub from the malevolent spirit that's in there. So, sometimes it's just a matter of mediation. The client says, "Oh, okay, well, cool. That was Grandma, Nellie, and we want her around." Sometimes it's a matter of just telling them what's going on and who's there, and that takes care of the emergency. Now, if they're being attacked it's an angry spirit, then okay, we got to do something.
So how do you deal with it? How do you get rid of them?
So with an angry spirit, sometimes we will approach, if we can find out who it is, if we can communicate with them, find out why they're angry, and fix the problem that makes them angry. Using your museum, for example, you've mediated with, I can't remember what you call him, or what his name was.
Oh, there's a couple now. There's a couple now we've had to mediate.
Okay. It's a matter of mediation. You figure out what the root cause of their problem is, and they don't want to pass, but you can figure out how to appease them, then you do. Otherwise, if we have to get them passed over because they're not going to go and they're causing physical problems, we will approach passed on loved ones who will come and encourage them across to the other side. We've done that before. On the other end of it, we've had lost aliens, and we basically protected that alien until their race came back and got them. So we're not here to just death and destruction of whatever is a problem. We're here to help, whether it's paranormal or not, try to mediate.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And when you bring in those mediation terms, how often is it successful?
I'm thinking. I don't think I think, to be honest, I think the only negative rate we've got is having to deal with psychiatric people, because there's nothing you can do to help them. If they don't want to seek psych help, then you have to let them go. There's nothing else you can do. As far as the success rate with dealing with paranormal issues, we're 100%.
Interesting. But, I mean, that brings up another good point, though, my friend, is how do you know that someone is not having a paranormal event happen, but they are having something psychiatric, some sort of psychiatric episode? Because that's where it gets a little bit dangerous. Am I correct?
It gets dangerous and it gets real tricky, and that's why we have a licensed therapist on the team. You know, that she plays a very key role. We also have a child on our team. She's 12 years old, and she is there for aftercare. She is there to talk to kids who want to talk to a peer, and that's her role. She doesn't go into any kind of hazardous situation. She's only there to talk on the phone or talk, face to face with kids that need that peer support to talk to, because she's actually been possessed. She's actually experienced paranormal at a very young age. I mean, she's 12, but at a very younger age, she's experienced a lot. And her grandma's on the team, so we have complete parental and grandparental support with it. So when it comes to the psych side, we have our licensed therapist, and we do have crisis hotlines for most countries. I mean, they're easy enough to pull up. So there have been a couple of cases where we actually had to call in crisis hotlines for clients, for welfare checks, and we've done it. We've called CPS on clients, to be blunt, because they were a threat to their kids. So we do what we have to do to protect everybody.
Michael McNeil has a question for you. He's asking, how do you see a lost alien? That doesn't make a lot of sense to a lot of people out there, my friend.
Well, that was at your house, remember?
Ah, yes. You tell that story. I don't think I've ever mentioned that story on the air. I'll let you explain that one. Yeah, I don't think I have. No.
That was at your house. Okay, real quick, Eric. We're located in Concrete, Washington State. So you got a hold of us, actually, and said that there was a random alien that was outside of your perimeter, outside of your property. And so we actually astraled there and didn't really communicate with him because there wasn't so much you could do for communication, but we reassured him. And that's what we call in R. Keith Andrews, who was able to identify a race and identify what was going on based on his own, techniques. He knew exactly what race it was and what was going on. And so we just basically monitored him until we knew he wasn't there anymore. So lost alien, yeah, it was a lost alien. He got left behind by his race.
That was kind of funny because I'll explain what my side of things. There was, as my listeners know, we get some strange energy around here at times, and there was something strange happening in my yard, and there was when I went and brought in Mrs. SOR, there was like an abandoned gray. They were apparently checking out my home and the show, and could have been I believe it was one of Carl's guys, if I recall. And he's a newbie, and he kind of just accidentally got left behind. And he was, you could see the shadow darting in between the trees up in my front yard. And Mrs. SOR, who's quite empathic, started picking him up, his energy. And literally, I remember calling up Cooper. I'm like, what the hell do I do with this? What do I do with this? It's kind of funny.
Yeah.
It was kind of funny.
Well, come to find out, it was actually a test. According to Keith, it was a test of our team to see how we'd respond, whether we were there to kill or whether we would actually help the alien. And so apparently we passed the test because we didn't destroy him. We just monitored until he got picked up. So.
Well, I'm going to take some credit for that because that was kind of my hope too. I didn't want him destroyed. Didn't want him taken out.
Right.
Didn't want him anything because if it was one of Carl's guys, then we had to make sure of it. I didn't want to burn that bridge. Did not want to burn that bridge.
No.
But damn it, Carl.
Not at all.
Let's go here. Where are you? I got a feeling next week's the week, man. I got a feeling next week is the week. Paracon week leading up here. I have a feeling Carl may be back next week. I don't know. If he is,
I hope so. I hope he shows up at Paracon so I can see him.
I would like that. I would absolutely like that.
So I know we're getting close to the end of
we got about
our interview.
Four and a half
quick,
minutes here. Yeah.
Real quick, I want to go over what our team capabilities are, and I'll be as quick as I can. But so my role, obviously, as mediator, is a team assessor. I also do the UFO abduction side of things. We have the astral team. We have a medium. We have two scientists. Obviously, Eric Markham is our. I'll always get his title. I know he's a biomedical. Then we have Karen Panozzi, who is an meteorological scientist. So we have two scientists on the team. We have Steve Monchak, who is our drone operator. We do have a drone that we use for the mountain cases. It's a high elevation drone. And we have DoD level software for analyzing what's on the ground. So he's a huge asset. We have Megan and Dan, our Marines, their security. We have our aftercare team, which is Chris and Jaretta and Tessa, which y'all know Tessa from Spaced Out Radio Weekends, and she's our boots on ground for the Four Corners area. And I don't want to forget anybody here. We have our Keith Andrews, who is actually our alien race specialist. We have, I'm going to piss people off because I'm going to forget people, but I'm in a rush here. We have Francie, who's our licensed therapist. So basically, we do have a full spectrum team. We handle all aspects, and we have all fields covered with science, with psych, with the what's some called a frou-frou. We get ridiculed a lot by other paranormal aspects that there's no such thing as astral or mediums there actually is. You have to have balance with science and psych. And mediums. There's no good investigation without all the aspects. So that's us in a nutshell.
And I think that's a strong team. I think you look at it from all different aspects and realize that every situation, every haunting, every UFO experience, Bigfoot experience, whatever it may be, is different. And quickly here, we only got about 90 seconds left with you tonight. We got to get to the news. And you're more than welcome to hang out if you want. You can hang out with Everett and I. You're okay. You're allowed. Yeah.
Sure.
But let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, if you don't mind. Take some time. Take some time, actually, to explain where the Paracon is, what's going on, who's going to be there, and, let's try and get some people there. Let's try and get some people.
All right, so the Forest Moon 3rd Annual Paracon is here in Cedarville, Washington. It's at the Skagit Valley Grange off the Cook Road exit. Just look for the floating alien because, so this year's theme is aliens. Next year it's actually going to be Bigfoot. So next year you can look for a Bigfoot running around. But this year you're gonna look for a 5-foot green alien that's going to be floating in the sky. So our speakers are Dave Scott, Christina George, Mike Morin, Francie Miller, Michael Hall. Who am I missing? I think I got everybody.
You got our Keith Andrews.
Our Keith Andrews.
Yeah.
And again, this year's theme is alien. So you're going to see, not necessarily in the speakers, because the speakers are going to talk everything paranormal, but you're going to see more of an alien theme and everything. There's going to be an alien walk around for photo shoots, for example. And of course, okay, go ahead. Okay.
You guys all hold on. We're going to get to the news right now with Mr. Cooper. He's going to join us as we're going to bring Everett Themer in for The Encounter.
This is the winter of our lives. We come to play the final scene. The curtains closing in the darkness we expose what lies beneath.
We are entering The Encounter tonight on Spaced Out Radio, as we do every night of the week, Monday through Friday, where we bring you the news, as the news is always changing, and that's why we have The Encounter. You can find The Encounter by clicking on the news section at spacedoutradio.com. Stories are always changing, and we bring in our news director, Everett Themer, to hang on out with us. Everett, how you doing, buddy?
Nice to hear Coop on Spaced Out Radio again. It's been a long time.
I know. We still got Coop here as well. We never know with Cooper if it's the beard or Cooper himself. We just never know.
I think it was the beard tonight.
It's the beard tonight.
Oh, good. Because you just never know. He wanted to stick through the news section because, this is all new to him. He's like, are we going 3 hours? I'm like, well, we only do 2.5 now. We got the news in there as well.
It's okay.
So he's going to hang out with us. So
Coop's always welcome to hang out with us.
Absolutely. What's new in the land of the news, Mr. Themer? How was your weekend, by the way?
It came and went. It was one of those kinds of weekends.
I cut down trees all weekend, man. I had a weekend full of chainsawing. I am feeling extremely masculine right now. Extremely masculine.
I'm going to have to send you some pictures of what I cut down. I don't even know how I'm going to split it.
I got to start splitting tomorrow. Thank goodness for the hydraulic wood splitter. Oh, it's a beautiful thing. It really is a beautiful thing. All right, my friend.
Let's get high tech on us.
Exactly. My friend, let's get to the news, the weird, the wacky, the WTF of The Encounter.
Well, I think probably the big story for today, and this is going to have the conspiracy theorists kind of questioning everything again, is that the National Solar Observatory reopened. And they issued a statement basically saying that they had been cooperating with the police because of some criminal activity on Sacramento Peak, which is nearby, and that they couldn't release any information because they didn't want to jeopardize the investigation or alert whoever was being sought or investigated to the fact that anybody had knowledge of what was going on. And if you read their statement, this leaves as many questions and it's so open-ended because it doesn't really explain anything. It just seems to kind of pass the buck to somebody else to explain.
Well, let me ask you this. As far as all the other reports that we knew of, local authorities knew nothing of this closure. So how are the police giving a statement on this?
This was not from the police. This was from the National Solar Observatory itself.
Well, okay, but they mentioned the police in that.
I'm assuming that they are referring probably to the FBI.
Right.
We don't know what relationship or what what was going on between them and the FBI. We simply know that the local police were not getting any information from either the observatory or the FBI. So it is possible that the observatory was working and cooperating with the FBI and possibly knew more than they were letting on. And in fact, they did, part of their statement did say that they recognized that the lack of communication was concerning and frustrating, but their one desire had to be balanced with the risk that the news would alert the suspect and impede the law enforcement investigation. And that was a risk that they were willing to take. You know, they didn't want to jeopardize it in any way.
So they overstepped their they overstepped their local county police to go straight to the FBI. Is this a government building or like a university building?
This is.
I was just about to ask if this was state or is it a federal building?
This is a private Well, it's a building that's owned by and in the process of being turned over to one specific university. I believe it's the University of New Mexico, but it is essentially owned by like a group of universities.
Then it shouldn't be a federal issue. It should be local law enforcement. Now, if that was a federal operated, owned facility, yeah, the FBI would be involved. But because it's not, it should be local law enforcement. So that would lead me to question, why are the feds involved?
Well, remember too, though, it wasn't the observatory. It appears that they weren't the ones that called in authorities. The FBI kind of just came in and took over, apparently, an investigation or began an investigation in that area, as they say, resulting from something that was going on locally in an area called Sacramento Peak.
Okay.
Something still seems very fishy about this, man.
When I read this, it just sounds like what they're doing is they're explaining it without explaining it and essentially putting it in the hands of the FBI, saying we did what the FBI wanted to do, or, you know, we cooperated with them and did what we thought was best. So I don't know, and I hate to become a commentator on this because there are so many theories and so many directions this could go, but it does seem like this is just one of those blanket statements that kind of is expected to pacify everybody.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what it is, because I don't like looking at the theories versus looking for the fact, and the fact is, if it's not, unless it's terrorist related, then yes, the feds will get involved. Unless it's some kind of a federal crime, that's the only time the feds would get involved. We can't even, we have a missing persons case up here where they want the feds involved for foul play, but the feds won't get involved unless local law enforcement invites them. So, that's where the federal authority versus local law enforcement is in conflict. But you're talking about a privately owned observatory. It makes you wonder what's really going on.
I can't see any crimes that could be being committed out in that area that would require the evacuation of a place like that and, part of the town. If this were something like, let's go down the road, if there was a drug lab out there somewhere, that wouldn't necessarily be an FBI thing, and it also wouldn't require that kind of evacuation. If a drug lab were to explode, certainly there may be some fumes and things like that, but to have these people evacuate both the observatory, the post office, and part of the town when there was no imminent danger that way seemed kind of weird. The only thing that I could even kind of conjecture about would be if there's some form of terrorist or espionage activity going out there and going on out there. And then, we're going down a strange road that still wouldn't necessarily require the reaction that the observatory and the post office and the town had to take.
Interesting. Let's move on to the next story, my friend.
There's a gentleman named Matt Olichny, and he was driving through Akron, Ohio, when he found a casket on the side of the road, apparently put out for the trash. So he did what anybody with a pickup truck would do. He contacted a friend and had him come over, and they loaded the casket into the back of his truck and drove away with it.
Why?
They apparently wanted the casket. They were curious about it. It was locked, so they took it back to his friend's, one of his friend's buildings. His friend owns an antique shop, and they worked on the locks to get them open, and they eventually managed to get them open. And while the outside was a bit dusty and dirty, it didn't look like it had been used. And when they opened it up, much to their surprise, it was completely empty and clean, never having been used. So now they have a lovely casket to display at flea markets and things like that for his friend's antique shop.
Why would someone just put a casket on the side of the road? Like that is eerie in so many different devious ways.
Well, unless it fell off a truck.
Well, it looked from all the descriptions, it looked like it had been placed out as part of the trash, and they believed that this house that it was in front of was abandoned. So really, you can buy a casket. You can go to Costco and buy a casket for like $800.
Yeah.
So, I can imagine somebody out there has bought a casket just to buy a casket. I mean, the idea crossed my mind.
I don't know. I really don't know, man. That
you
just
could sleep in it. You could sleep in it and think you're a vampire.
Not a hope. That scares the living daylights out of me. Like who does that? Who does that? Oh, there's a sale at Costco on caskets right now, 2-for-1 sale. Like, I'll just store this until my time is up. Like, who does that? Where does that cross someone's mind?
I've got to
Somebody
interject
who has
this
a
real
great
quick.
love. Oh, go ahead.
Pointy sticks are great for killing vampires. I know Joe's going to love such a pointy sticks.
Oh yeah, the good old pointy sticks. Absolutely.
If you really love Halloween and you have a little bit of extra cash to spend, who wouldn't want a genuine casket?
Dude, wouldn't that be awesome? Get a fog machine and have a real casket with a fog machine. I mean, there you go.
It's
I
terrible.
mean, if I got trick-or-treaters, I would probably do something like that.
Yeah.
You never
I mean,
know.
that would just be cool. But still, the idea of, driving around, because he picked this up, put it in his truck, and then, of course, because they were a little nervous about what they might find, they went through the drive-through liquor store and picked up some beer on the way to this other guy's building or business to open this thing up. So just the sight of driving around with a casket in the back of your truck and picking up some beer. I mean, that might be something I have to recreate.
Oh, that's just fantastic. Let's move on to the next one, my friend.
The Vatican is hosting its first ever meteorite convention.
Okay.
I'm not sure exactly where meteorites fit into what they're doing, but they are bringing in, I believe it's about 29 individual collections. They're having about a dozen speakers all talking about the methodology and best practices for collecting and researching or getting information out of meteorites. And I had no idea, but they have over 1,000 samples that they've collected over the past 100 years.
And what's the purpose of this?
They don't really say. I think it's a little strange. I mean, it's going to be at the Vatican Observatory.
Vatican disclosure.
It's just one of those weird things that, I know that the Catholic Church has embraced science a bit more probably in the last 50 years than they had in the previous, 1950 years. But it's just a strange thing, you would think, for the Vatican to be promoting and making educational statements and papers on.
Mm-hmm.
That is just strange, man. That is just
It
completely
is.
strange. But
I'm
but
sure
they do.
that-
But sorry, Coop. What I do know about the Vatican is they do have one of the leading researchers or research teams in the scientific community, and that's why they're included. Because I think a lot of us forget, and when we think of the Vatican, that it is its own sovereign nation. It is not a, yes, it is the home of the Catholic Church and everything, but it's so much more than just the church. They have one of the world's greatest libraries, one of the world's greatest art collections, and that is up for debate with a lot of people out there. It really is. But nonetheless, they have done a lot of work in the scientific community, and they do have a lot of interest in space. That is to be known as well.
That's true. Don't forget that Vatican Bank.
That as well. That as well. Right? So, I mean, it's just kind of interesting. It's kind of interesting. Coop, I cut you off there. What were you going to say?
Oh, I don't remember now. I just, it just cracks me up. Why would the Vatican be into meteorites? The ones that come out, and the Pope himself came out and said there's possibility of alien life, and they're going to look at meteorites. That
In a
just
way,
sounds weird.
in a way, if they're looking for alien life, there is the possibility that you would find microorganisms in the meteorites. Is
that's
this
why
their own?
That's why I said Vatican disclosure.
Is it an effort to control disclosure?
It could be.
It's going to be very interesting.
We will have to see.
I think we got time for one more, my friend.
In the world of today, there are so many newspapers and periodicals that are going to digital-only formats. And this story kind of excites me because the little town of Uranus, Missouri, has a new paper that's being opened up or published, and it's called the Uranus Examiner. And it's going to be... It's going to be kind of in their words, a fun little paper that is used instead of to, report the hard journalism kind of things. It's going to report some of the local events, but also kind of focus on some of the touristy kind of activities. The town is on the old infamous Route 66. So it's going to be used as kind of a fun little way to promote their area. But there are some people in the town that are a bit concerned with the idea of the publishers naming the paper Uranus Examiner.
Well, as they should be. As they should be.
It is hard to not giggle when you think about it or when you say it. But, my question is, if they're going to use it to promote some of the fun activities and things like that, sure, it's a fun sounding name, but if you're out with your family and you're traveling through town and you stop somewhere in the area, are you really going to want to grab Uranus Examiner copies and read them with your children or you know what I mean?
Well, and I think there's potty humor aside, okay, and trust me, I like good potty humor. I really do.
I don't think it gets more potty humor than that.
No, but I mean, at some point, do we have to grow up? All right. I remember, I think every slow pitch league out there in every city has a team called the Master Batters. You know what I'm saying? Like, do we need the play on words anymore? Like, it's not funny. It's just not funny anymore.
I don't know. I think that's
the
a little
Uranus
funny.
joke. Is it, though? The Uranus joke has been going on forever. It's been going on
But there's
forever.
always new 12-year-olds in the world.
Oh, I got the little
It's human
fly.
nature.
I finally got that fly that's been bugging me for like the last 2.5 hours. Finally got it. Off to fly heaven. But Either way, I don't know. I mean, it just gets a little old. It really does. And, why put your community or with that? I'm more concerned, though, Everett, that you use the word route instead of root.
Down here where I live, a root is something that grows off of a tree.
Route 66?
Mm-hmm.
Route 66? Really?
Yeah.
Potato.
I don't get it.
Where I'm from, a root is something that grows off a tree, or it's something you do for a team.
Mr. Skeptic. Dave, what do you got against Uranus? It's the circle of life, man. Hashtag Spaced Out Radio on Twitter.
See, I think the idea of a paper called Uranus Examiner is hilarious. I'm going to be making jokes about this for probably the rest of the week.
It's terrible. There's so much more funny out there. I mean, that's like Ray Romano, not funny.
Oh.
But you can't tell me they saw the humor when they invented that paper.
Well, of course they did. Of course they did. I don't get it. Let's get to the thought of the day. You guys bug me. You guys absolutely bug me. Play the clown music, Mr. Bumblefoot. Oh, there it is. Thought of the Dave happens every night at this time, where we ask a question on our Facebook and Twitter pages, and then we get you to respond and read your answers on the air. Why? Well, because we love the audience participation around here on Spaced Out Radio. But today's question on the Thought of the Dave, I think people read a little bit wrong. Because I sure didn't get the responses for the majority of people that I was expecting, guys. Today's Thought of the Dave question is, what is the dumbest thing you've seen on a paranormal investigation? Well, you wouldn't believe how many people start slamming all the television shows and television groups. Not what I was looking for. Read the question again. I'm feeling feisty about this, man. It was a good question. Because I wanted to hear some stupid paranormal stories.
But in people's defense, if you're looking for stupid paranormal stories, the best place to look is television.
Or the Uranus Examiner. Mm-hmm. I understand that. All right. Let's get her started. Keith says, a quote by Bill Burns, UFO files, ancient aliens, UFO hunters. This is definitely proof of something. I guess I would have to agree with him. Tim, I don't watch the shows. Did watch Ghosts of Shepherdstown and Ghost Mine series, though. Renee, Renee, she got it. She got it. Thank you, Renee, New Zealand. How's tomorrow looking, by the way? When investigators go into a location, make all sorts of noise and yell instead of going in quietly and get a feel for the area. Also, when they are doing EVP, they start asking questions at quick succession instead of asking a question, pausing for a bit, and seeing if there's a response. And I hate the ones that talk amongst themselves all the time instead of sitting quietly. Edit. Oh, and I don't think... Oh, and everything is demonic activity. Tanya, I don't like watching them anymore. We're not talking television. Jacob, most of the people investigating today. Nice and simple. Jade, way over on the East Coast. She's in like that other time zone beyond the East. She says, the constant talking and going on about hearing or seeing this or that, and the deep disrespect that is shown towards the entities. If I were one of those entities, I'd be kicking their butts and freaking them out so bad that they would never be doing investigations and stupid shows again. But it did inspire me to pull a prank on my son with a flashlight shortly after we watched a certain show. That's funny. That is funny. Robin jumps in. I don't really have anything negative to say. A lot of people are curious and want to know about these things. I do believe there are negative spiritual entities out there. I do believe there are entities and demons. I've encountered extreme negative energies, or whatever you want to call them, about 4 times in my life that there was absolutely no explanation for. Some dude named Everett. A paranormal group blow up a mirror and glass-lined box to destroy a demon. I think that show lasted half a season, but the group has a new show. So much more stupidity may follow. That was a beautiful one, Ev, by the way.
Well, thank you, even though it did talk about TV.
I know, but it was a scenario, though. It wasn't picking people out. You know? Scenarios. Let's see. Michael in the UK states, they play music in the background and say, "Did you hear that?" Or when they drop their guts and run out scared stiff, "Why go? We never heard it." That is a pet peeve of mine. I do have to admit that on the television shows. Do you ever notice they turn up the volume of the music when you're trying to hear that thump or that voice or whatever?
Every time.
Every time. Karen Smurl, the lovely and talented, we got to bring her back on the show. She says, "I'd be here all day," explaining. Yeah, her family has a freaky story. We're going to have to bring her back on and talk about that. Alyssa, please, and she's quoting this, she's using quotation marks, "Please use me as a vessel of energy so you can communicate."
Yeah, bad mistake.
Yeah. Joe, people, not all of them, of course, but definitely some of them. Vivster, that's easy. The people investigate the spirits to answer by making sounds. When it happens, they run away screaming in fright like scared little children. This is so true.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be on TV to see that one.
Mm-hmm. Gil, people who say orbs are spirits. Sheila, talking the entire investigation. You can hear nothing when you hear them say, "Did you hear that?" Oh, yeah, that's 2 for me. That's 2 there. Little Richie G. Every episode of the Southern Boys Ghost Hunting Show where they make a contraption trying to capture a ghost, take it back to HQ and try to talk to the captured ghost in the contraption to see if it's there. In the contraption. Not once did it work. Not once. Edie. Every single investigation, every single investigation that names every speck of dust or drop of moisture and orb, then blows it up saying, "Oh my God, there's a face." Seriously? It's so true.
Yeah.
We got time for one more. Let's go to John. A paranormal team removed and took possession of a priceless family Bible that was an heirloom, claiming it was the source of the demonic haunting. We eventually were able to get them to return it before the police were involved. Really? That happens? Brutal. Just brutal. Mr. Everett, let everybody know where they can find the encounter.
The best place to find the encounter is on spacedoutradio.com under the news tab, but they can also check out /SOR the encounter online.
Exactly. That's Facebook. You kind of cut out there, my friend, but I'll cover you. Eric Cooper, thanks so much for coming on Spaced Out Radio tonight. What a pleasure to have you back on, bro.
Oh, it was awesome.
All right. We also want to say tomorrow night on the program, author Lori Spania is going to join us. We're going to talk about ascension, spirituality. It's going to be a lot of fun. We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern time at spacedoutradio.com. Don't forget, you can go to questers.ca right now. That's questers.ca. Click on the fall conference. Get your tickets for the first annual Caribou Paracon, presented by Spaced Out Radio, September 28th through 30th, and the Canadian Society of Questers. Let's get this thing going. Let's rock it out. You got about 12 days to get up here, and I want to meet each and every one of you. So make sure you come on up. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. A special thanks to everybody listening in at home, in your cars, at work, wherever you may be. Special thanks to everybody participating on Spreaker tonight. Great to have you in the chat room. On Revolution Radio, thanks for chatting along and asking your questions. Twitter at #SpacedOutRadio. And a fine showing in the Veterans Club, the SOR Space Travelers on Facebook. Thanks for sharing the show. Doing your part to tell your friends and family, co-workers, to make us bigger and better every single night. Because together, my friends, we own the night. I will talk to you in 21 hours from now. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Good night.